Chapter 1238. Liu was famous. In front of 100,000 apprentice alchemists, he had identified all of the medicinal plants in the celestial land of violet fate. The Tao of alchemy commonly referred to 100,000 types of plants and vegetation. Actually, that was just a general term. In reality, there were countless types of medicinal plants, virtually limitless. 100,000 types of plants and vegetation referred to the ability to identify 100,000 common medicinal plants, and thus qualify to be promoted to Master Alchemist. There were at least millions of types of medicinal plants in the celestial land of violet fate, perhaps even tens of millions. An apprentice alchemist had identified all of the medicinal plants in the celestial land of violet fate. How heaven-defying was that? Liu's name shook the entire violet fate Tao of alchemy division. You didn't pick medicinal plants according to the requirements. You failed the test. Liu's final result was a fail. Liu didn't care at all, nor did anyone else. Why would an apprentice alchemist who had identified all of the medicinal plants in the celestial land of violet fate care about a fail? Promotion to Master Alchemist was a given. No matter how many fails he received, it couldn't cover up his radiance. Brother Li, what you've done is so heartbreaking. I've taken first place, but I don't have any status at all. Meng Hao had taken first place in the test. He had picked and identified 100,000 common medicinal plants. Without a doubt, he had taken first place in the celestial land of violet fate. However, no one remembered his first place. Everyone was focused on Liu. Who cared about him taking first place? Of course, Meng Hao wasn't so shallow. He wouldn't do anything for the sake of fame. He was just joking with Liu. What a surprise. What a surprise. Liu spread his hands out. Didn't you see that I didn't even pick the medicinal plants? How could someone who doesn't care about fame and fortune do something like that? You don't care about fame and fortune? You obviously like to show off your divinity. Meng Hao's mouth twitched. He had seen through Brother Li's true nature. This guy was obviously just messing around. He liked to show off his divinity and liked to screw people over. He didn't seek any benefits, he just enjoyed it. His hobbies really made people feel helpless. Life is just an experience. If you enjoy it, you'll naturally follow your heart. Cultivation is the cultivation of the mind. Liu chuckled. Pills are also Tao. Alchemy was also a form of cultivation. Take your time to experience it. Brother Li is right. Meng Hao nodded in agreement. During this period of time, he had been studying plants and vegetation. His heart and soul had become clear, and he felt as if he had transcended the mortal world. All right, you can go spend some time with your senior sister, Sue. Deacon Sue is looking for me. Liu waved to Meng Hao, then stood up and left. You've come at just the right time. Violet Furnace Lord Elder Wang Fanming has summoned you. Quickly go and pay your respects. Just as he arrived at Su Qian's residence, before Liu could speak, he heard Su Qian hurriedly say this. Violet Furnace Lord Elder Wang? You want to see me? Liu stared blankly for a moment. Could it be that his incomparable talent had finally attracted the attention of the Violet Fate sect? Was he going to start taking in disciples and giving out gifts, including girls? But why did it take so long for something to happen? Isn't the Violet Fate sect a bit too inefficient? The Violet Fate sect's cultivators of the Tao of Alchemy were divided into apprentice alchemists, master alchemists, furnace lords, violet furnace lords, and grandmaster alchemists. The only grandmaster alchemist was, without a doubt, Grandmaster Pill Demon. After Grandmaster Pill Demon, the highest position was Violet Furnace Lord. For a Violet Furnace Lord to summon him, what was the matter? After leaving Su Qian's residence, Liu hurried toward Violet Furnace Lord Wang Fanming's Immortal's Cave. Every Violet Furnace Lord had an Immortal's Cave of their own. There were only 10 or so Violet Furnace Lords in the entire Violet Fate sect, so Wang Fanming's Immortal's Cave was easy to find. Disciple Liu has received orders to come pay respects to Elder Wang. Arriving at the foot of Wang Fanming's Immortal's Cave, Liu clasped his hands in salute and reported the purpose of his visit. Come on up. An ancient voice drifted out from the main hall at the peak of the mountain. A violet light shot out, transforming into a violet avenue that appeared in front of Li Yu. Violet Qi from the east? This Elder Wang is also a nascent soul cultivator. Li Yu smiled as he stepped onto the path of purple light. In a flash of light, Li Yu's figure appeared in the main hall at the peak of the mountain. Greetings, Elder Wang. Li Yu saw an old man in a violet robe sitting cross-legged in front of an enormous pill furnace. He knew this was Wang Fanming. No need to be so courteous. Wang Fanming waved his hand, his face expressionless as he looked at Li Yu. Ever since you entered the sect, I've been watching your performance. Although your cultivation can be considered diligent, your temperament is erratic. You aren't willing to abide by the rules or be restrained. Your temperament is not suited for cultivation in the sect. Huh? Are you trying to expel me from the sect? I haven't done anything outrageous, have I? Hearing Wang Fanming's words, Li Yu's heart skipped a beat. What the hell? You want to expel a peerless genius like me from the sect? This script isn't right, is it? As for what Wang Fanming meant by erratic temperament and not abide by the rules, Li Yu was well aware of that. His Majesty Emperor, you had always believed that he was the order, the law, and the rules. Why would he care about the rules of others? Therefore, during the Celestial Land test, he'd completely forgotten about harvesting medicinal ingredients. He hadn't even thought about the rules. As for his daily life, such as attending classes and tending to the medicinal field, he hadn't paid much attention to them. He'd done everything according to his own ideas. If it weren't for the fact that Li Yu's nature wasn't bad, he might have been a scourge. Huh? It seemed he'd harmed quite a few people, hadn't he? His Majesty Emperor, you definitely wasn't the kind of person who would abide by the rules of the world. No matter how you looked at it, he could only be neutral. You didn't say anything. You're not a crafty person. Wang Fanming nodded calmly. The Violet Fate sect isn't a strict sect. Although your temperament is erratic, your nature isn't bad. After some discussion, we elders have decided to give you a chance. Go challenge the Pill Pagoda. As long as you can ascend to the 3rd level, you'll officially enter the sect and become an official alchemist. Pill Pagoda? What's that? Li Yu was completely confused. He'd been in the Violet Fate sect for a few months and basically understood everything he needed to know. But he'd never heard of the Violet Fate sect having a Pill Pagoda. In 3 days, I'll personally bring you to the Pill Pagoda. You may leave. Wang Fanming waved his hand expressionlessly. A purple light rushed out and swept Li Yu away, sending him down the mountain. Pill Pagoda? What the hell is that? Li Yu shook his head helplessly. He returned to Pill Valley and found Su Qian. Deacon Su, do you know where the Pill Pagoda is? Elder Wang want me to challenge the Pill Pagoda. Challenge the Pill Pagoda? Su Qian suddenly stood up, his face full of shock. The Pill Pagoda is Grandmaster Pill Demon's cave. You can actually go to the Pill Pagoda? Is Grandmaster Pill Demon going to accept a disciple? So you're saying challenging the Pill Pagoda isn't to make things difficult for me? Li Yu's mind spun, and he immediately understood. So, Wang Fanming's attitude, as if he wanted to expel me from the sect, was to warn me, so that I wouldn't get too carried away. He really put in a lot of effort. At this moment, Li Yu felt that the Violet Fate sect elders should be proficient in educational psychology. If placed on Earth, they would all be great teachers. Fellow students, have you been warned before? Chapter 1239. The Pill Pagoda is right in front. Go ahead. 3 days later, Elder Wang Fanming brought Li Yu to an inconspicuous stone pagoda. He pointed at the open door of the pagoda and said to Li Yu, this was an ancient modeled stone pagoda. The entire stone pagoda was modeled with the vicissitudes of life, and there was a lot of moss growing on the outer walls. There was no overflowing medicinal fragrance, nor was there any mysterious aura. It was just like an ordinary stone pagoda. This definitely isn't Grandmaster Pill Demon's Immortal's Cave. Even if he is, Pill Demon doesn't live here. Li Yu is naturally well aware of Grandmaster Pill Demon's background. Grandmaster Pill Demon was a pill concocted by the founder of the Violet Fate sect, Reverend Violet East. Back then, Reverend Zedong had cultivated to the peak of Tao seeking and was about to become an immortal. However, the Ji clan changed the heavens and severed the path to true immortality. Only the Ji clan's false immortals remained. Unwilling to become a false immortal of the Ji clan, Reverend Zedong perished on the path to becoming a true immortal. His soul fused with the pill and became a pill demon. He planned to cultivate again and attempt the path to becoming a true immortal. Grandmaster Pill Demon had long since shed his medicinal pill body and assumed human form. However, the innate Dan Qi, also known as East Dandong Everlasting Fire, would never dissipate. Liu couldn't sense any core qi within the stone pagoda. Therefore, this was definitely not Grandmaster Pill Demon's Immortal's Cave. If it's not Pill Demon's residence, then it must be Reverend Violet East's cultivation area. Liu nodded and stepped into the stone tower. Clang! The door of the pagoda closed, isolating the inside from the outside. Everything inside the stone tower was no longer sensed by the outside world. Grandmaster, why did you let him enter the pill pagoda? Isn't it too early for a little fellow like him to enter the pill tower now? Wang Fanming shook his head and sighed. Master, what are you thinking? Even though he's a peerless genius, but is it really appropriate to spoil him through excessive enthusiasm? In the Tao of Alchemy Division, only Violet Furnace Lords could enter the Pill Pagoda to gain enlightenment. Even a Furnace Master might not be able to endure it, let alone an alchemy apprentice like him. Wang Fanming's face was no longer expressionless. Instead, it was filled with worry. At this moment, Liu, who had entered the stone tower, felt that it was very interesting. Memorize all the books here in 10 days. If you can't recite it, then get out of the academy. This was a huge library, and the rows of tall bookshelves in front of him were filled with thousands of books. An old man with a head full of white hair, holding a ruler, expressionlessly shouted at Liu. What are you waiting for? Huh? It's actually an illusion? Liu couldn't help but laugh. Using an illusion to test me? How creative! With the nature of Liu's soul, what kind of illusion could shake his mind? Even if this illusion was personally arranged by Reverend Zedong, a cultivator who had yet to become an immortal wanted to shake Liu's mind? Memorizing books? It won't take 10 days. Since it was an illusion, he would let it be. Liu smiled slightly and waved his hand. All the books in the library transformed into streams of light and rushed into Liu's soul. Purple Fate Pills Sutra, section on plants and vegetation. After all the light entered his soul, countless amounts of information flowed into Liu's mind. The identification of all kinds of medicinal herbs, as well as their characteristics, entered Liu's mind. Memorizing books in an illusion is a test of one's memory. As long as one's memory meets the requirements, after memorizing all the books, the power of the illusion will merge the Purple Fate Pill Sutra with the soul. In order to finish memorizing all the books in 10 days, other than having a photographic memory, one also needed to have a strong enough soul. Otherwise, the vast knowledge of plants and trees would be absorbed into one's soul, causing one's mind to become muddled. But how strong was Liu's soul? This kind of thing was child's play to him. Boom! Outside, Elder Wang Fanming suddenly heard a brilliant light explode from the stone pagoda. The entire first floor of the stone pagoda was enveloped in a vast purple light. He passed the first trial just like that? It hasn't even been 15 minutes, right? My heavens, how is this possible? Seeing this scene, Wang Fanming's jaw almost fell to the ground. That year, when he had come here, the first trial had taken him 10 days. If it weren't for his photographic memory, he might not have been able to pass this trial. But now, this kid had passed the first trial in 15 minutes? How had he done it? How could he possibly finish reading all the books in 15 minutes? Come quickly. Come quickly. What the hell? What the hell? How is this possible? Wang Fanming hurriedly sent a message to the other Purple Furnace Lords, summoning all of them in the sect. Look, he passed the first trial. It'd only been 15 minutes. He passed in 15 minutes. How could this be? How could he possibly finish reading all the books in 15 minutes? How'd he pass? Wang Fanming pointed at the illuminated first floor of the stone pagoda as he spoke to the other Purple Furnace Lords. It really is impossible. No matter how talented he is, how monstrous. How many books could he possibly read in 15 minutes? How could he possibly memorize all the books in the library? These purple furnace lords had all personally entered the Pill Pagoda and were no strangers to its interior. However, it was impossible for Liu to pass the first stage in a quarter of an hour. Could something have happened to the Pill Pagoda? Earlier, the violet fate celestial soil had mysteriously run into trouble, and now the Pill Pagoda had run into trouble. It didn't seem impossible. He merely saw through the illusions. There's no need to panic. Just as everyone was bewildered, a voice entered everyone's ears. Grandmaster, you said he saw through the illusions? That's too inconceivable, isn't it? This kid, at most at the Foundation establishment stage, could actually see through the illusions on the first floor of the Pill Pagoda. Rumble. Just as everyone was reeling from shock, the second floor of the stone pagoda lit up. He passed the second trial? So fast. The second trial was farming. 10,000 mu of fertile land. How did he finish so quickly? He saw through the illusions again. Did he acquire the catalyzing section of the Violet Fate Pill Sutra? Did he master the art of endless time? While everyone was still reeling from shock, a third rumble sounded out, and the third floor of the stone pagoda lit up. So fast. He passed the third trial in the blink of an eye. He acquired the pill recipe section. How long did it take us to pass this trial? Everyone's faces were filled with helplessness. The world of monstrous geniuses was not something that ordinary people could understand. Rumble, rumble. Endless rumbling sounds filled the air. Each trial was faster than the one before, and the more one passed, the easier it became. In truth, the more one passed, the easier it became. The more alchemy knowledge one obtained, the easier it would be for them to accept the knowledge that was passed down in the same vein after they had thoroughly integrated it. Pill furnace, pill flame, medicinal properties, furnace opening, pill cultivation, pill recognition. Rumbling sounds filled the air as each floor of the pagoda lit up. He's already lit up the 8th floor. He hasn't come out yet. Could it be that he still wants to pass the 9th floor? Could it be that he can create his own Tao of alchemy? In today's world, only those who created their own Tao of alchemy could be called great masters. Could an apprentice alchemist like him create his own Tao of alchemy? My Tao of alchemy is not about nourishing people with pills, nor is it about assisting in cultivation. My pills are external pills. For Gene Dan, even a mortal who swallows one of my pills can become an immortal. If I swallow a Gene Dan, I will control my own fate, not the heavens. Violet light shot into the sky, and the entire stone pagoda shone with violet light. It was resplendent and holy. His voice echoed through the clouds, as if heaven and earth were resonating, as if the great Tao was resonating. A new Tao of alchemy had been born. What a good if I swallow a Gene Dan, I will control my own fate, not the heavens. Grandmaster Pill Demon laughed heartily. Chapter 1240. My Tao of External Elixir. On the 9th level of the stone pagoda, Liu looked helplessly at the last layer of the illusion that was constantly breaking. The 9th level of the illusion was the path of seeking Tao. Liu became a scholar. In a mortal country, he searched for his own path and the value of his life. Liu did not directly break this layer of the illusion of seeking Tao. Instead, he took the initiative to sink into it. He sealed his own memories and turned himself into the scholar in the illusion, studying, taking the imperial examinations, becoming an official. His life was very normal and peaceful. Then, foreign enemies invaded and civil strife arose. Flames of war rose everywhere, and the people were in dire straits. How could he survive in this chaotic world? How could he save himself? How could he save this precarious country? The scholar had tried many methods. He threw away his pen and joined the army. He suppressed the rebels and guarded the borders. However, he was suspected by the emperor and framed by the treacherous officials. He resolutely raised the flag of rebellion and started an uprising, preparing to rebuild the world. As his power grew, the followers around him became greedier and more corrupt. In a certain war, he was betrayed by his own people and was surrounded. He fought his way out and joined the foreign enemies. He became the general of another country and led the army to dominate the world. As his power grew, he once again fell into the suspicion of the emperor and was framed by the treacherous officials. Everything was in vain. He tried everything and made countless attempts. He even changed the lineup several times. However, he was still unable to calm this chaotic world and restore peace to this world. I can't save this world. On this day, the scholar left. He left the noisy mortal world and left the turbulent mortal world. He built a hut deep in the mountains and lived in seclusion. He no longer cared about the affairs of the world. What is the reason for the turmoil in the world? The scholar who lived in seclusion deep in the mountains had been thinking. What caused the turmoil in the world? Heroes vie for supremacy, all for the position of the emperor. All of this is just a game of power for the superiors. What if there is no superior in the world? Or should I say, everyone is a superior? At the very least, the people at the bottom should have the power to control their own destiny. The scholar thought it through. He decided to leave the mountain again. First, he spread his ideas and his Tao among the people at the bottom. Then he gathered like-minded people and raised the flag together to conquer the world again. 30 years later, the army led by the scholar swept the entire world. He pacified the turmoil in the world and established a country with no superior. However, when the old scholar was bedridden, he suddenly realized that he was also a person of high status. The world would never be able to get rid of those in power. Then let everyone become a leader. The scholar laughed heartily, and then the illusory realm was destroyed. Once I swallow this Jindan, my life will be in my own hands. Liu shook his head. Because of the sovereign will in the subconscious. In the illusion, I was always thinking of changing the world. After that, I did too many things like giving away lucky chances. It actually allowed me to create such a pill Tao. Refining elixir refining was refining elixir alchemy. Using the power of herbs and medicinal pills, he could refine an external pill that was equivalent to a cultivator's entire cultivation base. Swallowing an elixir could give a mortal the power of a cultivator. It seems Taishang Laojuan's 9 transformations Jindan is a medicinal pill that can allow a mortal to become an immortal. My Tao of alchemy is somewhat similar to Taishang Laojuan's method. Liu laughed and shook his head. This really is a Tao of alchemy that specializes in delivering good fortune. Pill Demon greets you, fellow Taoist. A violet light flashed, and Grandmaster Pill Demon appeared on the 9th floor of the stone pagoda. He wore a white robe, and his face was handsome. He stood next to Liu. Greetings, Grandmaster Pill Demon. Liu smiled and returned the greeting. Grandmaster Pill Demon referred to him as fellow Taoist for several reasons. One was that Liu had created his own Tao of alchemy. In terms of cultivation base, he could be considered a fellow Taoist. As for the other reason, Liu caused quite a ruckus in the Violet Fate celestial land. He had nearly caused the Violet Fate immortal furnace to explode. Others might not be able to tell, but as the owner of the Violet Fate immortal furnace and the second reincarnation of Reverend Violet East, Grandmaster Pill Demon naturally knew that Liu's actions had something to do with it. Fellow Taoist, it is an honor for the Violet Fate sect to reincarnate and cultivate anew. Grandmaster Pill Demon smiled as he looked at Liu. However, fellow Taoist, your origins are extraordinary. Furthermore, you have already created your own Tao of alchemy. I, Pill Demon, do not dare accept you as an apprentice. Now that I've joined the Violet Fate sect, I am a disciple of the sect. As for the matter of you accepting me as an apprentice, Grandmaster Pill Demon, I dare not hope for that. Liu clasped his hands and bowed, his face solemn. According to Grandmaster Pill Demon's own experiences, he guessed that Liu was the reincarnation of some almighty being who had perished. Liu didn't need to explain. As for the Violet Fate sect, Liu actually had a good impression of it. At the very least, Liu had a good impression of the Tao of Alchemy division. In the future, if he could take care of it, he wouldn't mind. Fellow Taoist, you're too polite. Grandmaster Pill Demon smiled and nodded. He waved his hand, causing a prayer mat table to appear. Green tea was placed on top of it, and he gestured toward Liu. Fellow Taoist, since you've created a new Tao of alchemy, why don't we take advantage of this opportunity to discuss the Tao? That would be my pleasure. Liu smiled and sat down. He was interested in Grandmaster Pill Demon's understanding of the Tao of alchemy. The Tao of alchemy is the Tao of the evolution of matter. Grandmaster Pill Demon's understanding of the Tao of alchemy could be of use to Liu. I believe that the foundation of cultivation lies with the cultivator himself, said Grandmaster Pill Demon. Medicinal pills are only auxiliary. Medicinal pills increase the speed of cultivation. Medicinal pills nourish the person. That is my Tao of alchemy. I use the power of plants and vegetation to regulate yin and yang, to control the 5 elements, to transform spiritual energy to nourish the body. Therefore, my pill demon focuses on nourishing the person. Every pill is based on the person and the person's needs. Grandmaster Pill Demon spoke frankly and with assurance as he explained his Tao of alchemy. His explanation of the Tao of alchemy, based on the needs of the person, gave Liu quite a bit of inspiration. For example, when refining pills, different people, different cultivation methods, different body conditions, there would be different changes and so on. The Tao of a Grandmaster really is full of spirit. Liu sighed in praise, and then proceeded to explain his own understanding of the Tao of alchemy to Grandmaster Pill Demon. There are millions upon millions of living things under the heavens, but only a few are capable of cultivation. Most of them are the common people of the mortal world. From ancient times until now, all alchemists have overlooked this group of people. None of the medicinal pills they concoct are suitable for mortals to consume. The great Tao is selfless, and all living things are equal. My Tao of alchemy is to give mortals the same opportunities as cultivators. If I consume a single gene Dan, I control my own fate, not the heavens. Mortals also have the power to control their own fate. These words were the enlightenment he had gained from the world of illusions. It could only be said that Liu, the high and mighty sovereign lord, had looked down upon all living things with pity in his heart. Fellow Taoist, you are merciful. Such a Tao of alchemy is truly a blessing for all living things. Grandmaster Pill Demon sighed in praise at Liu's words. Then he pointed down at the ground. This pagoda has been empty for a long time. Fellow Taoist, I would like to trouble you to take control of it. What do you think? Very well. Liu nodded in agreement. Although he had gained enlightenment of the Tao of alchemy, he had never concocted a single pill. Cultivation of the Tao of alchemy required not just the desire to acquire it, but also the ability to do so. And thus, Liu had a new identity in the Violet Fate sect, Lord of the Pill Pagoda. Chapter 1241. Being the master of the Pill Pagoda makes things a lot more convenient. On the 9th floor of the Pill Pagoda, Liu stood before an ancient bronze cauldron. Flames danced beneath the cauldron. Beside him was a row of wooden shelves, upon which were stored various medicinal seeds. After comprehending the Tao of alchemy, I still need to test my own Tao of alchemy. Alchemy is essential. With a wave of his hand, he summoned medicinal seeds one by one. Activating the purple cloud incantation, he began to catalyze the various medicinal plants and toss them into the cauldron. All of the knowledge of the Tao of plants and vegetation, as well as the knowledge of the purple fate pill scripture, flowed through his mind, colliding with the light of wisdom. It wasn't just the alchemy techniques of this world. Even the battle to break the world, the sun god world, the mortal world, etc. All of the alchemy techniques that Liu had come into contact with flowed through his mind. They corroborated and blended together, transforming into Liu's own Tao of alchemy. One incantation after incantation appeared in his hands. The cauldron shook violently, reaching the point of perfection. My husband, heaven and earth are the cauldron, nature is the workmanship, yin and yang are the charcoal, and all creation is the copper. Liu chanted and slapped the cauldron lid open. A brilliant golden light shot out, transforming into a golden pill that seemed to have been cast from gold. This is an external pill. This is a Jindan. With a wave of his hand, the golden pill landed in Liu's palm. There was no medicinal fragrance or surging spiritual energy. It was as if it was a golden pearl or a lump of metal. The medicinal strength is contained within, not a single bit scattered. The medicinal properties of the medicinal plants are perfectly combined, and they are displayed to the extreme. According to this world, this is a peerless divine pill with 100% medicinal strength. The hallmark of a grandmaster of alchemy, besides their own unique Tao of alchemy, was the ability to fully utilize the medicinal strength of the plants without wasting a single bit. In terms of medicinal strength, Liu's pill was the work of a grandmaster. I just don't know how effective it is. This pill was concocted by Liu to verify his own Tao of alchemy. This was a pill that he had created himself. According to Liu's theory, this pill could allow a mortal to reach the qi condensation stage after consuming it. However, no one knew how effective it would be. Fortunately, I don't need to do human experiments. Otherwise, this world will have another terrifying scientist. With a wave of his hand, Liu stored the pill into the resource warehouse. System: use a mortal's body as a model and simulate the results of consuming this pill. Liu had done this kind of simulation countless times in the past. At the same time, tens of thousands of people, men, women, old and young, were simulated. 10,000 test subjects simulated taking Jindan and tested the efficacy of Jindan. Test complete. With mortals as the model, there was no restriction on cultivation aptitude. After taking this pill, everyone will advance to the qi condensation stage, with an average of around the 5th level of qi condensation. Attention! Consuming this pill will only grant you basic abilities, but you won't have any cultivation awareness or fighting will. You also lack cultivation comprehension and the ability to cultivate independently. Overall evaluation: worthless. The system's evaluation was objective and accurate. What do you mean by worthless? It's very valuable. Liu also knew about the evaluation of worthless. In essence, it was indeed worthless. This pill could only create a mediocre cultivator around the 5th level of qi condensation. Moreover, he had neither the cultivation of his temperament nor the comprehension of cultivation. He had neither the will to fight nor the combat skills. In the system's evaluation, such a defective product was simply worthless. In the cultivation world, it was similarly worthless. However, the significance of this pill was no longer limited to how strong the cultivator it created was. To be able to allow a mortal who knew nothing about cultivation to become a cultivator at the 5th level of qi condensation after consuming this pill, this in itself was a shocking feat. My pill Tao can be considered success. This was a very good start. Now that he could refine a pill that could allow a mortal to become a qi condensation cultivator, he would definitely be able to refine even stronger pills in the future. Even divine items similar to the celestial deity fruit and celestial immortal fruit from celestial Emperor Huang's world could definitely be achieved by consuming one. This pill is called the Creation Jindan. With a wave of his hand, he imprinted the name of the pill on this Jindan. Then, he left behind a 9-level pill pagoda mark. The Creation Jindan has already refined the qi condensation pill. I still need to experiment with foundation establishment, Jindan, and even nascent soul pills. Apart from that, I also need to refine some ordinary pills to practice my skills. Following that, Liu went into seclusion in the 9-level stone pagoda for a month. In this 1 month, Liu concocted pills every day without rest. Apart from cultivating another golden elixir of creation for the foundation establishment stage, he couldn't cultivate anything else. As for ordinary pills, he had refined quite a number. There were more than 1,000 of them. I'm using these things to practice. I don't need pills myself. Then, I'll give them to Su Qian as a return of favor. Putting away all the pills with a wave of his hand, Liu stepped out of the stone pagoda and rushed towards the pill valley that Su Qian was in charge of. Liu, you're back. You left the pill pagoda? Why didn't you study there for a while longer? Seeing Liu return, Su Qian hurriedly asked with concern. The matter of Liu becoming the master of the pill pagoda hadn't been made public. Only Purple Furnace Lords knew. Su Qian naturally didn't know that Liu had become the master of the pill pagoda. He thought that Liu had been studying in the pill pagoda. Oh, I'm already living in the pill pagoda. I just took some time out to come out. Liu smiled but didn't explain. He took out a storage bag and handed it to Su Qian. Deacon Su, here's some pills. If you need them, keep them for yourself. If you don't need them, you can sell them. Pills. Su Qian was slightly startled and reached out to take the storage bag. In his view, Liu had only been in the sect for a few months and wasn't even an alchemist. Naturally, he couldn't have refined any pills. The only possibility was that Liu had gotten to know a Purple Furnace Lord in the pill pagoda. That Purple Furnace Lord had taken care of Liu and asked Liu to sell these pills to him so that he could benefit from it. Leave this to me. Go back to the pill pagoda. You can't miss the chance to study in the pill pagoda. Go quickly. Go quickly. Su Qian put away the storage bag and hurried Liu back. Which Purple Furnace Lord Elder refined these pills? After chasing Liu away, Su Qian returned to his room and opened the storage bag Liu had given him. This is a purple spirit pill. This is a yellow bud pill. This is a meridian cleansing pill. These are all pills from the Qi Condensation Foundation establishment stage. There aren't any high-level pills, but there are a lot of them. Su Qian understood this very well. Liu only had such a low cultivation level. Naturally, he couldn't give him pills that were too high-level. Although there were a lot of Qi Condensation Foundation establishment pills, Su Qian could easily deal with them. Which Violet Furnace Lord was it that refined it? Su Qian was somewhat curious. He couldn't help but open a pill bottle and pour out a pill. The symbol of a 9-level pill pagoda? Who is this? The Violet Fate sect has never had a Purple Furnace Lord with a 9-level pill pagoda as a symbol. This medicinal effect. There isn't any medicinal effect. Could it be 100% medicinal effect? Su Qian was so shocked that his hands were shaking. 100% medicinal effect. Supreme Grade Divine Pill. This was a pill down master. But other than Master Pill Demon, there were no other pill down masters in the Violet Fate sect. More importantly, other than Master Pill Demon, there was no one else in the entire southern region who could refine a supreme grade divine pill with 100% medicinal effect. Who is this? Who is this? Who is this pill down master? Chapter 1242. Peerless Grade Divine Pills. So many Peerless Grade Divine Pills. Su Qian opened the pill bottles one by one and saw the pills inside. He saw the symbol of the 9-level pill pagoda and the pills that had returned to their original state without any medicinal power. He was scared silly. This kind of pill, this is completely a sacred item of alchemy. In the entire Violet Fate sect, there was only one alchemist who could refine a Peerless Grade Divine Pill with 100% medicinal power. That was Master Pill Demon. To refine a Peerless Grade Divine Pill, one needed to have a thorough understanding of the medicinal properties of plants and not waste a single bit of medicinal power. This was a watershed in alchemy, a sign that one had reached the pinnacle of alchemy. In the entire southern region, besides Master Pill Demon, there were 2 other masters. However, those 2 masters had not reached the true pinnacle. Although they had also created their own alchemy, they could only unleash 99% of the medicinal power. They could not refine it to 100%. Only the number 1 alchemist, Master Pill Demon, could unleash the medicinal power to the extreme without wasting a single bit. He could refine a Peerless Grade Divine Pill with 100% medicinal power. Now, thousands of Peerless Grade Divine Pills with 100% medicinal power appeared in front of Su Qian. Perhaps I saw wrongly. As a mere furnace master, I can't accurately determine whether or not it is a Peerless Grade Divine Pill with 100% medicinal power. Putting away these suspected peerless grade divine pills, Su Qian turned and walked out of his residence. He hurried to ZUS City at the foot of the mountain. In ZUS City, there was a Violet Fate Sect pill auction house. In this auction house, there was the Violet Fate Sect's only magic artifact for detecting the medicinal power of pills. For alchemists, identifying pills and determining their medicinal properties was a necessary skill. With the help of external objects, it was inevitable that one would slack off and overlook this skill. Therefore, apart from the auction house that needed to display the medicinal power of pills to outsiders, the Violet Fate Sect did not allow such magic artifacts to be used. Senior brother, and I want to test the medicinal power of a pill. Su Qian rushed all the way to the auction house, found the auction house manager, and hurriedly explained his intentions. Test the medicinal power of a pill. The auction house manager looked up at Su Qian with a face full of surprise. The divine purple spirit jade can only be displayed to outsiders. We can't use it ourselves. This is the sex rule. Junior brother Su, don't you understand? Don't make it difficult for me. I don't want to use it for myself. Just for... All right, take a look for yourself. Su Qian didn't know how to explain for a moment. He hurriedly took out a pill bottle, poured out a pill, and handed it to manager and... It's just a foundation establishment medicinal pill. After receiving the pill, Deacon didn't pay much attention to it first. However, when he suddenly realized that he couldn't smell the medicinal fragrance or feel the medicinal energy, he was shocked. Could it be? I'm not sure either. I can only come here to test it. Su Qian spread his hands. I didn't violate the sex rules. Yes, we need to test it. Deacon nodded solemnly and hurriedly brought Su Qian into the auction house. This is the purple spirit divine jade. Arriving at the inner hall, Deacon pointed at a long spiritual jade that was about 10 feet long and carved with purple jade. There were pill furnaces engraved on it and said to Su Qian, "Let's test it and see how many pill furnaces it can light up." From the looks of it, even if it's not 100%, it's at least 99%. As Su Qian spoke, he placed the pill in his hand on the pedestal below the purple spirit divine jade. On the pedestal was something that looked like a jade plate. The pill was placed on this jade plate. Buzz, purple light flowed, and the purple spirit divine jade suddenly trembled as a ray of light shone. On the long purple spirit divine jade, the pill furnace engraved on it lit up one by one. In the blink of an eye, 7 pill furnaces were lit up. 70% medicinal strength? It shouldn't be more than that, right? Deacon and Su Qian looked at each other. How could such a pill that couldn't be sensed at all only have 70% medicinal strength? Could it be that this pill is special? What material did it use to seal the medicinal strength? Buzz. Just as the two of them were bewildered, the light flashed again. The 8th and 9th pill furnaces lit up consecutively. 90% medicinal strength. The two of them exclaimed at the same time. What kind of concept was 90% medicinal strength? In the entire southern region, apart from the 3 alchemists with the title of master, no other alchemist could refine a pill to the 9th level. No, it's not just the 9th level. It's still rising. Su Qian pointed at the purple spirit divine jade, trembling with excitement. After the 9 pill furnaces lit up on the purple spirit divine jade, the light continued to rise. 9th level, 5th level, 6th level, until boom! With a loud bang, a resplendent purple light soared into the sky. The purple spirit divine jade shone with purple light as all 10 pill furnaces lit up. Illusory images of pill furnaces appeared one after another, floating high in the air. The purple light was vast and mighty, illuminating the world. Such a commotion alarmed the entire Purple Moon City. 10 furnaces out. A peerless divine pill has appeared. A peerless divine pill. The cultivators who came to Purple Moon City were all here to buy pills from the Purple Fate Sect. They were naturally familiar with the medicinal strength of pills. Seeing the phenomenon of 10 furnaces out, how could they not know that a peerless divine pill had appeared? All of them rushed crazily to the Purple Moon City's auction house. As for the cultivators who came to participate in the pill auction, all of them jumped up in shock. A peerless divine pill has appeared. We want to buy a peerless divine pill. We want to buy a peerless divine pill. In a moment, the auction house was packed with people. The crowd was in a frenzy as all of them shouted that they wanted to buy a peerless divine pill. In reality, the preciousness of a peerless divine pill did not lie in the pill itself. For example, an ordinary qi condensation pill was extremely cheap. Even if this qi condensation pill had 100% medicinal strength and was refined into a peerless divine pill, it was still essentially a qi condensation pill. However, the preciousness was that through this peerless divine pill, one could comprehend the method of an alchemist to refine a peerless divine pill. To alchemists, being able to comprehend a peerless divine pill with their own eyes was greatly beneficial to their alchemy cultivation. A peerless divine pill was a sacred item of alchemy. It's actually really a peerless divine pill? This is going to be big. Deacon En and Su Qian were dumbfounded. A peerless divine pill actually appeared? There really is a peerless divine pill? This is simply too unbelievable. Su Qian was even more frightened. He still had thousands of peerless divine pills in his storage bag. If word got out, how many people would be scared to death? There's no other way. We have to release this pill. But this pill can't fall into the hands of outsiders. Isn't it just an auction? We'll buy it ourselves. If they didn't release it, the auction house would be demolished. If they released it for auction, the Purple Fate sect would bid for it themselves. In any case, it was all a sect item. It was just a matter of exchanging one's left hand for the right hand. After making up their minds, Deacon and Su Qian sent this pill to the auction house together. Is this a new pill refined by Master Pill Demon? Quickly release it for us to see. Countless people shouted fervently in the auction house. This pill wasn't refined by Master Pill Demon, but by the master of our Purple Fate sect's Pill Pagoda. Take a look for yourselves. Deacon and placed the elixir on the display stage of the auction house. A light screen appeared and displayed the elixir on the light screen. 9-level Pill Pagoda? Which master is this? Another alchemy master has appeared in the Purple Fate sect? The master of the Purple Fate sect's Pill Pagoda Master? At this moment, the master of the Purple Fate sect's Pill Pagoda, the newly promoted alchemy master, the name Pill Pagoda Master, shook the southern region. Pill Pagoda Master? Why don't you say it's Egg Tart Master? Hearing this title, Liu's face was full of depression. Chapter 1243. The auction of the Peerless Divine Pill had ended. This Peerless Divine Pill finally returned to Su Qian's hands. His roar of 1 billion spirit stones shocked all the cultivators present. Even Deacon was sweating profusely. Oh my God, you shouted such a high price. Even if the sect exchanged my left hand for my right hand, where can I find so much money to pay the Pill Pagoda Master? Even if the sect took 70% of the profits, they still had to pay the Pill Pagoda Master 300 million spirit stones. Deacon was already paralyzed on the ground. 300 million spirit stones. Even if I sold myself, I wouldn't be able to pay it back. I'll scare you to death if I say it. Su Qian looked like an arrogant nouveau riche. 1 billion spirit stones is nothing. Come, I'll open your eyes. I'll let you see my wealth. Opening his storage bag, thousands of peerless divine pills were displayed in front of Deacon, and these are 1,000 peerless divine pills? Oh my God! Deacon screamed and was paralyzed with fear. 1 peerless divine pill was worth 1 billion spirit stones. 1,000. How much would that be? He had to pay 300 million each time. If this continued, how could he live? Report this to the sect. I can't take responsibility for this. Deacon hurriedly sent a message to the sect elder and reported in detail that they had lost at least 300 million after buying this peerless divine pill for 1 billion. The Pill Pagoda Master? He refined a peerless divine pill? The Purple Furnace Master on duty Wang Fanming, was also shocked speechless when he heard Deacon An's report. Not just one, it's 1,000. Deacon An was already wailing. What? A shriek came from the communication talisman, followed by a series of clanging sounds as things fell to the ground. Elder Wang, are you all right? I'm fine. I went out in a hurry and accidentally fell. You don't have to worry about this. I'll report to Master Pill Demon. Wang Fanming hurriedly disconnected the transmission talisman, looking very pathetic. So, I'm not the only one who was scared stiff. Deacon An suddenly felt an indescribable sense of pleasure. According to the rules of the Violet Fate sect, once a pill concocted by a master alchemist is sold, it will be sold. The sect would share the profits with the sect. The most the sect could get was 70%. According to the Pill Pagoda Grandmaster's generosity, the sect would have to give him 300 billion spirit stones, even if he only got 30% of the 1,000 supreme Grey Divine pills. 300 billion. No matter how large the Violet Fate sect was, it wouldn't be able to withstand such torment. In Shanghai, I've already reported this to Grandmaster Pill Demon. Grandmaster Pill Demon asked the Pill Tower Lord for his opinion. The master of the Pill Tower said that these things were all for Su Qian. Su Qian can handle it himself. A moment later, Wang Fanming's voice sounded in Deacon An's message talisman. This time, it was Su Qian who was paralyzed with fear. 1,000 peerless divine pills are all mine? You're giving it all to me? This. Su Qian was already incoherent. Old Ghost Su, everyone has a share. Everyone who saw it had a share. If you dare to King hog it all, I'll fight it out with you. Deacon An's eyes lit up. With a loud roar, he jumped up and threw Su Qian to the ground. Get lost. This was given to me by the Pill Tower Master. Why should I give it to you? Get lost. Su Qian also roared and tangled within Shanghai. After messing around for a long time, the two old ghosts were panting heavily. Hey, old Ghost Su, you bastard. When did you get involved with the Pill Tower Master? Did you give your granddaughter away? Or did you give your sister-in-law away? And Shanghai panted and asked Su Qian. How would I know? I don't even know who the Pill Tower Master is. All right, isn't the Pill Tower Master Pill Demon's cave abode? Why is there another Pill Tower Master? Su Qian was also confused and couldn't figure out at all. Could it be? Su Qian suddenly remembered that these pills were all given to him by Li Yu. Moreover, when Li Yu gave these pills to him, he said, keep those that you can use and sell those that you can't use. At that time, he didn't pay much attention to it and thought that it was just polite words. But now that he thought about it, this was completely the tone of an owner. Unless Li Yu himself was the owner of these pills, otherwise, how could he say such words? Could it be him? It can't be. Even if his purple light soared into the sky, even if he came back to life, he couldn't have become a master so quickly, right? Su Qian was so shocked that his jaw almost dropped. Li Yu was the Pill Tower Master? Li Yu was the Pill Tower Master? Purple light soared into the sky, coming back to life? I've also heard of this. Li Yu? Is he that peerless genius that you met by sheer luck? And Shanhai's face was full of envy. If I had known, I would have become a deacon of the Mountain Gate. Why didn't I encounter such a good thing? This is a fortuitous encounter. Su Qian smiled, patted the dust off his body, and raised his head proudly. Little Un, seeing how pitiful you are, I'll give you some benefits. After casually throwing a peerless divine pill, and Shanhai was so happy that the world was spinning. He didn't care about Little Un anymore. Could he be the Pill Tower Master? He is the Pill Tower Master? Walking out of the auction house, Su Qian still felt like he was in a dream. He felt that all of this was unbelievable. Hurriedly returning to the sect, Su Qian rushed to the Pill Tower. Disciple Su Qian requests to see the Pill Tower Master. Arriving in front of the Pill Tower, Su Qian bowed to the Pill Tower and reported loudly. So it's Deacon Su. The door of the stone tower opened, and Li Yu stepped out and smiled at Su Qian. Deacon Su, please get up. There's no Pill Tower Master here, only the medicine boy Li Yu. You are really the Pill Tower Master? Those peerless divine pills were all made by you? How can Su Qian repay master's kindness? Su Qian was moved to tears and bowed to Li Yu. 1,000 peerless divine pills. Even one pill was an heirloom of alchemy cultivators. Moreover, he still had 1,000 pills in his hands. With these treasures and the kindness of the Pill Tower Master, the Su family would definitely prosper forever. Deacon Su has taken care of Li Yu in many ways since he entered the sect. It's just a mere pill to express your gratitude. Deacon Su, you don't have to do this. Li Yu is also very grateful for Su Qian's care. Giving out these pills could also be considered repaying Deacon Su's care. If people respect me, I'll respect them tenfold. Given Li Yu's status and means, it was a piece of cake for him to repay Deacon Su. Thank you, Pill Tower Master. After confirming Li Yu's identity as the Pill Tower Master, Deacon Su became even more respectful and restrained. There's no Pill Tower Master. I am Li Yu and only Li Yu. The title of Egg Tart Master was really embarrassing. Li Yu even had the intention of swearing to die. At this moment, Li Yu suddenly understood why Little Meng had such a deep grudge against the frenzied Thunder Monk and Reckless Monk back then. If one's nickname was Crooked, it would be a lifetime of pain. Chapter 1244. Fellow Taoist, congratulations on your success in the Tao of Alchemy. After Su Qian left, Grandmaster Pill Demon appeared in the Pill Pagoda. He looked helplessly at Li Yu. Fellow Taoist, you gave Su Qian so many divine pills. You should leave some for the sect. I've refined 2 pills and was just about to show them to you, Grandmaster Pill Demon. Li Yu waved his hand and produced 2 good fortune Jindan pills. One was for the Qi condensation stage, the other for the foundation establishment stage. The 2 dazzling golden pills spun in Li Yu's palm like 2 golden balls. These 2 pills. Grandmaster Pill Demon's expression grew solemn as he accepted the pills. He released his divine sense to study their medicinal properties. The good fortune of heaven and earth is contained within these pills. The more he studied, the more shocked he became. He looked deeply at Li Yu and sighed in praise. Fellow Taoist Tao of Alchemy has already surpassed mine. You're too modest, Grandmaster. Li Yu smiled and shook his head. Due to the limitations of my cultivation base, I can only refine the good fortune Jindan of the foundation establishment stage. Once consumed, a mortal, regardless of talent, can ascend to the foundation establishment stage. But this is still just a minor Tao. If I can refine the Jindan stage, or even the nascent soul stage, the Jindan of good fortune would be useful. Fellow Taoist, you're undervaluing yourself. Grandmaster Pill Demon's face was filled with shock. Your Tao of Alchemy has already stolen the good fortune of heaven and earth. My pills can only help people cultivate, but fellow Taoist pills can directly help people achieve the Tao. This is stealing the good fortune of heaven and earth. However, this Tao of Alchemy, please don't spread it. Grandmaster Pill Demon looked up at Li Yu, his face solemn. If people knew that one could reach the heavens in a single bound without arduous cultivation, many people would lose their minds. I'm afraid that countless people won't be able to maintain their Tao hearts and will take this shortcut. Of course, Li Yu nodded. He completely agreed with Grandmaster Pill Demon's concerns. It was like being able to enter a university without taking the college entrance exam. Then, who would study so hard in high school? I will only refine this good fortune Jindan when I need to verify my own Tao of Alchemy. Moreover, I will not spread this pill around. Don't worry, Grandmaster Pill Demon. Li Yu is not a philanthropist. Naturally, he would not give out a free gift unless it was a gift. Thank you for your understanding, fellow Taoist. Grandmaster Pill Demon clasped hands and bowed. In that case, I won't disturb your peaceful cultivation any further. Farewell, Pill Demon. In the following time, Li Yu cultivated in the Pill Pagoda. Other than occasionally refining pills and meditating to cultivate qi, Li Yu spent most of his time comprehending. By comprehending the Tao of Alchemy and comprehending the changes in physical properties, one could deepen one's understanding of the origin of matter. How useful can an item be? It's not just about the item itself, but also about your understanding of it. Some kind of fertilizer in the hands of farmers, it is just fertilizer. But in the hands of a chemist or a special forces soldier, it could be turned into explosives. A piece of bamboo, a fisherman would use as a fishing rod. In the hands of a martial arts expert, it could be turned into a bamboo spear weapon. Liu's own origin of matter had already reached the level of the mother of all creation, the origin of all matter and energy. However, in the process of learning the Tao of alchemy this time, he had unexpectedly gained even more comprehension. His understanding of the Tao of material evolution and the Tao of physical properties transformations was even more detailed and profound. The origin of matter was grasped in the general direction of the whole. The Tao of physical properties transformations and alchemy was grasped in the details. The whole and the details complemented each other. So, why do I need to refine pills? Isn't it more convenient to let the plants directly grow into medicinal pills? With a wave of his hand, medicinal plant seeds flew out and floated beside Liu. The origin tree has exuberant vitality and gentle and pure medicinal properties. It is suitable to be the mother. With a point of his finger, the seed of the origin tree instantly sprouted and grew into a small tree about 3 meters tall in a moment. With a wave of his hand, the origin tree was cut off at the base. On the cut of the origin tree, Liu took out a seed and catalyzed a long vine, grafting it on. Grafting the thunder root vine onto the origin tree, it made the power of lightning become even gentler. Continue grafting. Chopping off the thunder root vine, Liu took out another seed and catalyzed it, grafting it onto the thunder root vine. Medicinal properties are physical properties. My grasp of the origin of matter let me clearly grasp the physical property transformations in medicinal plants. This experiment should be able to succeed. Unceasingly growing, unceasingly grafting. All kinds of different medicinal herbs were continuously grafted together. All kinds of different medicinal properties blended with each other, replacing the pill refinement process with the power of plant growth. In the end, it was still a small tree. A small tree about 3 meters tall, covered in all kinds of leaves, all kinds of vines and roots. Whether it succeeds or fails, it all depends on this. Firing out a spiritual art, spiritual energy poured into this small tree, continuously catalyzing and growing. Taking root, sprouting, growing leaves, blooming, then bearing fruit. This small tree had already grown to more than 3 meters tall, with luxuriant leaves and abundant fruits. The entire tree was hung with hundreds of jujube-like fruits. Did it succeed? Liu stretched out his hand, and the fruits on the tree flew down one by one, landing in Liu's hand. These are the fruits produced by grafting according to the medicinal properties of the yellow bud pill. Liu picked up a fruit and carefully observed it for a while, then smiled and nodded. From what I sensed, this fruit's medicinal properties are exactly the same as the yellow bud pills. Looks like this experiment was a success. This was the result of Li Yu's understanding of the Tao of physical transformations. This is a new pill refinement method. There are fire refinement methods, water refinement methods, and now I've created a wood refinement method. The pill refinement method was secondary. The real gain was that Li Yu had completely understood the physical transformations of the origin of matter. This was the creation of all things. Grandmaster Pill Demon, he said, I have some interesting fruits here. Take a look. Li Yu walked out of the stone pagoda and planted the 9-meter-tall tree in front of the pagoda. He set up 2 tables underneath the tree and placed the fruits on them. Then he called Grandmaster Pill Demon over. That tree? As soon as Grandmaster Pill Demon arrived outside the stone pagoda, he saw the tree. Given his skill with plants and vegetation, he could tell that this tree was extraordinary. It was filled with all sorts of medicinal plants. What's going on here? Grandmaster Pill Demon looked at Li Yu, his face filled with shock. Eat the fruit first. Li Yu handed him a fruit. Is that a fruit or a medicinal pill? Grandmaster Pill Demon took the fruit and looked it over. He could sense the medicinal properties inside, and his heart filled with shock. He picked up the fruit and bit down. Juice flowed out, and a fragrant aroma filled the air as it flowed down his throat. The medicinal strength flowed through his body like a trickle, a yellow bud pill. Given Grandmaster Pill Demon's level of cultivation in the Tao of Alchemy, how could he not recognize a medicinal pill? But this fruit was actually a yellow bud pill? What was going on? This is my new pill refinement method, said Grandmaster Pill Demon. This method is called the wood refinement method. It uses the catalysis of plants and vegetation, grafting various medicinal plants together. Using the power of plants and vegetation, it blossoms and bears fruit to form a pill. Wood refinement method? Plants and vegetation grow and naturally form a pill? Grandmaster Pill Demon's face filled with shock. How could this be considered a pill refinement method? This is clearly a magic of good fortune. Chapter 1245. Time passed slowly. While Liu was researching the wood refining technique in the Pill Pagoda, Meng Hao also stood out. He had mastered 100,000 plants and vegetation, catalyzed medicinal plants to perfection, and officially became a master alchemist. He had concocted the bedevilment pill with 100% medicinal strength and caused chaos in the Violet Moon City auction. The name Grandmaster Pill Cauldron resounded throughout the southern domain. Grandmaster Pill Demon, Grandmaster Pill Pagoda, and Grandmaster Pill Cauldron. 3 Grandmasters in one sect. The Violet Fate Tao of Alchemy was like the sun at noon, flourishing to the extreme. Grandmaster Pill Cauldron? Grandmaster Calmness is no better than Grandmaster Egg Tarts. When Liu heard Su Qian mention Grandmaster Pill Cauldron, he laughed loudly. Grandmaster Pill Cauldron is someone else. I'm not deliberately mystifying things. Grandmaster Pill Demon would never do such a thing. Telling Chunhai not to worry about losing hundreds of millions of spirit stones this time. He won't have to fork out a single cent. This is someone's apprenticeship fee. Liu knew that Grandmaster Pill Demon was already preparing to accept Meng Hao as an apprentice and would soon use the name apprenticeship fee to cheat Meng Hao of hundreds of millions of spirit stones. So that's how it is. Many thanks to Grandmaster Pill Pagoda for clearing my doubts. Su Qian had been entrusted by Chan Hai to probe Liu's intentions. After receiving an answer, he stood up and bid farewell. Meng Hao's Tao of Alchemy was on the right path, and Liu was fully focused on perfecting the wood refining technique. Time passed. In the blink of an eye, 5 years had passed. During these 5 years, the Violet Fate Sect's Tao of Alchemy division had undergone great changes. First was the Violet Fate Celestial Land. There were no longer medicinal plants, but all sorts of fruit trees. Every tree was filled with fruit. Each fruit was a medicinal pill. The apprentice alchemists entered the Violet Fate Celestial Land no longer to gather medicinal plants, but rather to pick fruits. An alchemy method known as the Wood Alchemy Scripture circulated among the furnace lords and above. This scripture used the catalysis of plants as the foundation, grafting medicinal plants, and the power of plants to naturally form a pill. The alchemists were mesmerized. Brother Li is a genius. Such a method of creation is truly admirable. Meng Hao also saw the Wood Concocting Codex and knew that Li Yu was the lord of the Pill Pagoda. He couldn't help but marvel at Li Yu's Wood Concocting Codex. I can't believe that the Tao of plants and vegetation can be transformed into a divine ability like the wood refinement magic. It's really too amazing. Meng Hao put down the book in his hand and took a deep breath. See worthy people and emulate them. With Brother Li's achievements, I can't fall behind. He delved into alchemy and comprehended the nature of plants and vegetation. Time passed by peacefully. On this day, a piece of news broke the silence, and it caused great waves in the cultivation world of the Southern Territory. A Tao geyser erupted at the edge of the ancient Tao lakes. The primordial Tao lakes were a mysterious place in the southern region. According to legend, The ancient Tao lakes buried the southern domain's ancient cultivation world. Every time the Tao lakes erupted, ancient precious treasures and legacies would be discovered. To the cultivation world of the southern domain, this was an unparalleled opportunity. Although it wasn't an eruption of the Tao lakes, but rather a Tao geyser at the edge of the lakes, it still held extraordinary significance. The eruption of the Tao geyser shows the scene of an ancient cultivator of the great circle of foundation establishment breaking through to core formation. Comprehending this will be of great benefit to foundation establishment and breaking through to core formation. When the news spread, foundation establishment cultivators from the various great sects and clans of the southern domain, as well as rogue foundation establishment cultivators, rushed to the ancient Tao lakes to gain enlightenment of the Tao geyser. An ancient Tao geyser erupting? A foundation establishment cultivator breaking through to core formation? When Liu heard the news, he gaped in shock. Then, he suddenly realized that in the years since he had joined the Violet Fate sect, he had been so focused on studying the Tao of alchemy that he had completely forgotten that his cultivation base was still in the foundation establishment stage. All right, I'll take advantage of this opportunity to go out for a walk and break through to the Gene Dance stage. During his 5 years of pill concocting, he had gained enlightenment of the Tao of plants and vegetation, as well as the transformations of physical properties. Liu had built up quite a bit of experience, and even his understanding of the essence of all matter had increased. At his current level, core formation could be accomplished with a single thought. The eruption of the ancient Tao geyser is showing the scene of an ancient cultivator reaching core formation. I can use it as a pretext to break through to the Gene Dance stage. Having made up his mind, Liu bid farewell to Grandmaster Pill Demon, then left the stone pagoda and headed toward the ancient Tao lakes. Along the way, he saw cultivators from all over the place hurrying toward the ancient Tao lakes. There were also countless cultivators from the Violet Fate sect heading toward the ancient Tao lakes. Liu didn't feel like traveling with the group from the Violet Fate sect. Instead, he shot toward the ancient Tao lakes on his own. The ancient Tao lakes were located in the western region of the southern domain. Lakes and swamps of various sizes covered the land within a radius of 10,000 miles like stars in the sky. The erupting ancient Tao geyser was located at the edge of the ancient Tao lakes. Although it was called a Tao geyser, it was actually nothing more than the mouth of a spring in a valley. By the time Liu arrived at the ancient Tao geyser, the valley was already packed with countless cultivators. The area closest to the ancient Tao geyser was occupied by the 3 great clans and the 5 great sects. To Liu's surprise, an unfamiliar banner appeared in the very front of the crowd. It was a golden banner that shone with dazzling golden light, as if the sun were shining down on everything. Embroidered on the banner was a longsword. Atop the blade of the longsword was the image of a blazing sun. Which sect is this? He thought. When did a new power appear in the southern domain? Liu was both surprised and curious. He descended from the sky and began to walk toward the banner. He wanted to see just what kind of power it was and how it could be on the same level as the 3 great clans and 5 great sects of the southern domain. Halt! This is the territory of the House of Yu. Cultivators who are not members of the House of Yu may not enter. As he neared, he suddenly heard a loud shout from up ahead. The House of Yu? Who are they? Liu's footsteps paused as he scratched his head. You don't know about the House of Yu? Which cultivator are you? How could you be so ignorant? The House of Yu was an alliance of cultivators established by the various rogue cultivators of the southern domain in memory of sword god Liu. The establishment of the House of Yu was greatly supported by the various Tao children of the southern domain. You don't know about the House of Yu? One of the nearby cultivators kindly explained to Liu. In memory of sword god Liu, the House of Yu? What the hell? Liu's jaw dropped. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Years ago, he had messed around and fooled around, and now he had created the House of Yu? Liu, over here, over here. Meanwhile, Su Qing and Meng Hao were waving at him from the Violet Fate Sex camp. Meng Hao had a strange smile on his face. Apparently, he was doing this on purpose. What? Liu? Your name is Liu? You dare to call yourself Liu? The name of the sword god cannot be blasphemed. Upon hearing the name, Liu, the hot-blooded youths of the house of Yu angrily surrounded him. Liu's face was filled with helplessness. These are all fans. What can I do? There's nothing I can do. As of this moment, Liu wasn't sure whether to be angry at the house of Yu or depressed. Chapter 1246. It's just the same pronunciation, but different characters. I wouldn't dare to blaspheme the name of the sword god. Liu could only beg for mercy. He clasped his hands and bowed sincerely before fleeing. What could he do? He couldn't possibly pick a fight with his own fans, could he? There was nothing he could do but flee. Finally, I vented my anger. With a strange smile on his face, Meng Hao looked at Liu, who was running towards him in a sorry state. Who asked you to make me bear the name of unfaithful and fickle? Now that I have the chance to screw you over, of course I can't miss it. You dare screw me over? Ha ha. Liu laughed coldly. His gaze shifted to the group of Violet Fate sect cultivators and to a beautiful young woman who was none other than Shu Yuyan. Brotherly, spare me. Seeing Liu's actions, Meng Hao's face drained of blood. He immediately began to beg for mercy. After the scandal between him and Shu Yuyan, Meng Hao had expended a tremendous amount of effort to appease Su Qing. If Liu really wanted to screw him over, the consequences would be extremely miserable. Junior brother Feng Mu, we're from the same sect, Meng Hao said solemnly. We should unite as one against the outside world. What do you think? If these two swindlers decided to screw each other over, it would be too tragic. Elder brother Li is absolutely right. Meng Hao nodded solemnly, secretly wiping away the cold sweat. It was best not to provoke a swindler like brother Li. It was too dangerous. What are you guys talking about? Su Qing asked. She couldn't shake the feeling that something was off about their strange conversation, as if they were hiding something incredible. Oh, this eruption of the Dao geyser is an opportunity for us. We have to unite as one against the outside world. Only then will we be able to reap the rewards. A woman's curiosity really is dangerous. Liu quickly explained. Right, that's definitely the case. Meng Hao was even more nervous. He was afraid that Su Qing's curiosity would get the better of her. If that happened, he wouldn't be able to clear his name even if he jumped into the Yellow River. Is that so? Su Qing nodded. According to the pattern, the Dao geyser only erupts once a month. The next time will be 3 days from now. Let's just wait patiently. Hundreds of thousands of cultivators had gathered around the valley. The more people there were, the more conflicts there would be. Within these 3 days, there were hundreds of fights, big and small. The most sensational event was when Solitary Sword Sect disciple Chun Fan fought to a draw with Li Clan Dao Childly Dowie. The two of them were evenly matched. This made the unknown Chun Fan famous all of a sudden. Due to the influence of this battle, it seemed that this ancient Dao well meeting had become an opportunity to make a name for himself. There were more challenges. Boom! 3 days later, when the afterglow of dusk illuminated the valley, the ancient Dao well erupted once again, and a resplendent brilliance shot into the sky. As soon as the light appeared, the entire valley fell silent. Everyone stared at the light that soared into the sky without blinking. The radiance slowly spread out, turning into a huge screen of light. The figure of an ancient cultivator appeared on the screen. The figure on the screen was blurry, and his face could not be seen clearly. However, the person's face was not the focus of everyone's attention. The ancient cultivator, who was sitting cross-legged, formed a series of mysterious hand seals. Vaguely, there seemed to be an indescribable aura circulating around this cultivator. Boom! Endless radiance burst forth from the ancient cultivator's body. In his sea of qi, the Dao platform shattered, collapsed, and condensed, turning into a perfectly round and flawless Jin Dan. Dragon and tiger converged. The Jin Dan was formed. The screen of light formed by the Dao geyser slowly faded and disappeared without a trace. The Tao platform is one's foundation. Naturally, the stronger it is, the better. However, to form the core, one has to shatter this unbreakable foundation of the Tao platform. Only then can it collapse and condense to form the Jin Dan. Liu nodded with a smile. The path that the ancient cultivator chose was to condense the strongest battle intent through endless battles, shattering the Tao platform and condensing the core. Given Li Yu's experience, it only took a glance for him to understand what was happening within the ancient Tao geyser. Of course, I don't need that kind of method. Still, it's quite amusing to do as I please for once. Having reached this point in his train of thought, Liu laughed heartily and rose to his feet. He walked out of the Violet Fate Sect's ranks and walked over to the ancient Tao geyser. What ancient Tao geyser? Trying to be mysterious and mystifying, deliberately mystifying. It's nothing but a deceiving toy. Liu seemed to have lost his head because he hadn't been able to gain any enlightenment from the scene just now. He cursed loudly and waved his arm. What's the point of keeping a deceiving thing like this? It's better to destroy it. Liu's entire body surged with boundless violet qi. Violet light shot up into the sky as he roared madly. The violet light transformed into an enormous hand which viciously slapped down toward the ancient Tao geyser. This boundless violet qi was the technique of the Violet Fate Sect, Violet Qi from the East. In essence, Violet Qi from the East was the foundation establishment chapter of the Sublime Spirit Scripture. However, Liu had acquired the Mountain and Sea Scripture, so naturally, he had the complete Sublime Spirit Scripture. Therefore, using Violet Qi from the East was no problem at all. Stay your hand. You can't. You dare. When they saw Liu destroy the ancient Tao geyser, the nearby cultivators from the 3 clans and 5 sects, as well as the cultivator from the Yu sect, all jumped up in shock. With the exception of a few Violet Fate sect cultivators who hadn't moved, everyone else charged toward Liu. As for the smaller sect, clan, and rogue cultivators who were a bit further away, they were all filled with righteous indignation, unable to restrain their rage. If it weren't for the fact that they were too far away, they would have torn Liu to shreds on the spot. There was no need for them to act. The cultivators from the 3 clans, 5 sects, and Yu sect numbered in the thousands. In their shock and fury, virtually all of them attacked Liu. Boom! Magical techniques, divine abilities, flying swords, and magical items poured down like a torrential downpour toward Liu. Brotherly, what the hell is he doing? When Meng Hao saw what was happening, his jaw dropped. He had no idea what this brotherly was up to. Bring it on. Liu wasn't surprised by the divine abilities and magical techniques that blotted out the sky. Instead, he laughed. He clasped his hands together, and a mighty violet qi shot up into the sky. Violet qi rises 30,000 miles from the east. He roared. The roiling violet qi was like a raging tide, blotting out the sky and covering the earth as it swept out in all directions. Boom! The mighty violet qi and the numerous divine abilities and magical techniques slammed into each other, causing a massive explosion that shook heaven and earth. A powerful wind sprang up, and the earth quaked and the mountains swayed. Ha ha! Many thanks for your help, fellow Taoists. Liu stood tall and proud amidst the shockwaves. Dazzling golden light exploded out from Liu's body, making him look like a blazing sun rising into the air. An enormous spiritual pressure filled the air. It filled the air like a raging tide, blotting out the sky and covering the earth. If you want to form a Jin Dan, you must ascend to the Tao platform as the bright moon. The moon hides the jade rabbit, the sun hides the crow, the tortoise and the serpent intertwine. A long song filled the air, and a golden glow filled the sky. Liu floated up, his entire body shining with golden light, as if he were draped in rosy clouds. Dragon and tiger converged, and the Jin Dan was formed. Core formation. Core formation. He actually formed a core. You can form a core by fighting? At this moment, the entire valley was in an uproar. So, he wasn't trying to destroy the ancient Tao geyser. He was using the pressure to shatter the Tao platform and form a Jindan. Could it be that this was the secret of the ancient Tao geyser? He had to face the pressure of life and death in order to shatter the Tao platform and form a Jindan. Chapter 1247. I am Liu from the Violet Fate sect. The radiance gradually faded away. Liu stood on a cloud, floating in midair. He clasped his hands and bowed. Just now, I had an epiphany and comprehended the method to break through. I had no choice but to do this. It was all thanks to the assistance of all of you fellow Taoists that I was able to form the Jindan. Fellow Taoists, I am indebted to all of you for your assistance. Naturally, I will make the method to core formation public. I will repay all of you for your assistance. Liu's words were spoken with awe-inspiring righteousness and sincerity. You're too polite, Li. Congratulations to Li on your success in forming the Jindan. Your great Tao is within reach. Li is so open and honest. To make this core formation enlightenment public, no wonder he comes from a righteous sect. His actions are open and above board. Admirable, admirable. In an instant, there was a flood of praise. It was as if they weren't the ones who hated Liu to the bone. I had an epiphany just now, and had no choice but to do this. I am extremely ashamed. Many thanks for your understanding, fellow Taoists. Liu's posture became even more upright. Fellow Taoists are magnanimous. I, Liu, will naturally offer up my epiphany. When I looked at the images of the ancient Tao geyser, I discovered that when ancient cultivators broke through, there was a flow of battle intent. It was as if they were using this extremely strong battle intent to shatter their Tao pillars and form the Jindan. Liu smiled and looked around. He nodded. Just now, when I was fighting with all of you, I borrowed the battle intent to shatter my Tao pillars and form the core. It seems this method is feasible. So that's how it is? Yes. I also felt that battle intent from the scene of the ancient cultivators breaking through. It's definitely true. At this moment, the hearts of countless people began to stir. Using battle intent to shatter one's Tao pillars and form the core in one go was the ancient cultivators' method of breaking through. Compared to the current method of slowly grinding away one's Tao pillars, this method was much faster and more convenient. Using battle intent to shatter one's Tao pillars and form the core is completely true. I didn't cheat you at all. Liu laughed strangely in his heart. As for whether you will fight until your heads bleed, or whether you will truly form your gold cores, that will depend on your own abilities. Descending from midair, Liu walked over to Meng Hao and sat down cross-legged. Brother Li's comprehension must be correct. I feel the same way. But why do I feel like there's a problem here? He muttered under his breath. With his understanding of Liu, he did not believe that he was such an upright and selfless person. What make it public? It probably wasn't that simple. Junior Marshal Brother Fong Mu, you've underestimated me too much. I'm open and above board. How could I be as bad as you think? Liu's face was full of righteousness. The more you say that, the more flustered I am. Meng Hao's mouth twitched. As night fell, the entire valley fell into silence. It was almost as if everyone were contemplating what they had gained from the ancient Tao geyser and were settling down. No fighting broke out. However, the next morning, the people who had spent the night building up their strength couldn't hold it in any longer. Li Daoi, I challenge you to a duel. Wang Lihai, let's have a showdown. Thief, you dare to hit my beloved? Die. All over the valley, there were fights, duels, and battles everywhere. Some were fighting one-on-one, some were fighting in groups, and some were ganging up on one person. Smoke rose up everywhere, and the fighting was a complete mess. Junior Marshal Brother Meng, as a disciple of the Violet Fate Sect's Tao of Alchemy, you've seen so many of our fellow Taoists seeking breakthroughs. How could you just sit by and watch? Liu looked at Meng Hao with an enigmatic smile. That's right. Medicinal pills for healing are exactly what you fellow Taoists need. I have quite a few medicinal pills, so of course I can't just stand by and watch you die. Meng Hao's eyes glittered, and he suddenly rose to his feet. A bashful expression could be seen on his face. Junior Marshall brother comes from a poor family with nothing to show for it. I can't afford to give you medicinal pills for free. Naturally, I'll have to pay for them. He produced a banner, then took out a brush and ink and wrote the words, Violet Fate Pill Workshop Branch, in large letters. Then, carrying the banner, he began to wander around, saving the dying and healing the wounded. The husband and wife sang along, and Su Qing, his virtuous wife, followed Meng how to open a husband and wife shop. Blood-staunching muscle regeneration pill. It's not expensive. Only 100 spirit stones. 100? Why don't you just rob a bank? Because robbing a bank wouldn't make as much money as this. Meng Hao's face was full of bashfulness, and he looked embarrassed as he spoke such words that would cause anyone to cough up blood. Su Qing laughed so hard she fell over, and her eyes rolled back in her head. Because of the Violet Fate sex name, no matter how many people gnashed their teeth in anger, they didn't dare to act rashly. At the very most, they could only refuse to buy. No one dared to use violence. Unfortunately, as the days passed and the fighting continued, everyone was running out of medicinal pills. He could only endure the 10 times higher price and gnash his teeth in anger as he bought the pill. The other Violet Fate sect disciples wanted to follow suit, but when it came to medicinal pills, how could any of them compare to Grandmaster Pill Cauldron? After some comparison, everyone felt that Meng Hao's medicinal pills were more genuine goods at fair prices, and his business flourished even more. AI, you people, how can you steal each other's business when you're fellow disciples? Seeing that some of the Tao of Alchemy disciples were beginning to dislike Meng Hao, Liu hurriedly tried to calm him down. Then, he pointed out another business. Cultivating qi through battle and then breaking through to the next stage isn't something that can be done casually. Seeing how many of you have been injured, I feel ashamed. Liu looked around at the flames of battle raging in the valley. He bemoaned the state of the universe and pitted the fate of mankind. Well, this all started because of me, so I can't just ignore it. Here's some of the insights I gained from watching the ancient Tao geyser. Use jade slips to copy them and help your fellow Taoists gain more enlightenment. Many thanks, Elder Brotherly. The disciples of the Violet Fate Sect's Tao of Alchemy Division weren't as adept at fighting as the disciples of the Qi Refining Division. Many of the Foundation Establishment disciples didn't even bother to cultivate Qi through battle. They couldn't compete with Meng Hao in the medicinal pill business, so they had nothing better to do. Now that they heard Li use words, their eyes began to shine. Elder Brother Li's insights naturally have to come from Elder Brother Li's own hands. Only then can they be considered authentic. If some evil person carelessly copied Elder Brother Li's jade slips, wouldn't that cause your insights to be incomplete? Wouldn't that be harming all of you, fellow Taoists? One of the Tao of Alchemy disciples stood up and clasped hands in salute to Liu. Not bad. You're very good at preventing piracy. Liu sighed inwardly, then smiled and nodded. Of course, we need to break down the restrictive spells of the Violet Fate sect. That's the only way to prevent evil people from taking advantage of us. What do you think? That's exactly how it should be. The faces of the Tao of Alchemy disciples bloomed with joy. Since this is Elder Brother Li's enlightenment, we can't let him waste his mind. One of the Tao of Alchemy disciples waved his hand, indicating a 50-50 chance. This is just to make things easier for all of you, fellow Taoists, said Meng Hao. Liu's body was filled with righteousness, as if he were offering selflessly. 40-60. That's it. The Tao of Alchemy disciples gritted their teeth and called out the lowest price. Junior brothers and sisters, said Meng Hao, I'm ashamed to accept your generosity. Then I'll have to trouble you, junior brothers and sisters. 60% of the profits was not bad. Liu nodded his head in agreement. And so, in addition to the Violet Fate Pill Workshop Division, Meng Hao began to sell insights. How I broke through to the next stage. Personal insights of Violet Fate Sex Liu. Becoming a Jin Dan is as simple as that. That's what Liu said. Ancient Tao Geyser. Personal insights of Liu. All sorts of jade slips began to circulate among the various cultivators. Chapter 1248. Time passed day by day as they battled and did business. A month later, Wang Lihai, Dao child of the Wang clan, and Han Shandao, Dao child of the solitary sword sect, erupted in a great battle. After the battle, both of them succeeded in condensing battle intent. Although they didn't shatter their Dao pillars and ascend to Jindan, their gains were significant, and they were not far from core formation. That same month, Blood Demon sect, Dao, child Li Shiqi, and Violet Fate sect Chuyuyan fought. The battle shook the entire area, and heaven and earth rumbled. Chuyuyan actually managed to condense battle intent and shatter her Dao pillars. Although she hadn't completed the transformation to core formation, all she needed to do was meditate in secluded meditation for a while, and she would be able to form a Jindan. With a living example in front of them, everyone went even more crazy. Liu's jade slips of enlightenment sold like hotcakes. Meng Hao's medicinal pill business grew larger and larger. Hey, you two aren't going to keep selling medicinal pills like this, are you? Aren't you going to try to break through? When the time comes, everyone else will have reached Jindan, and you'll be the only ones left. Liu saw that Meng Hao and Su Qing were addicted to doing business. They were completely focused on selling medicinal pills and didn't even care about gaining enlightenment from the ancient Dao geyser. Brotherly, do you really think that my battle intent would be enough to shatter my Dao pillars? Meng Hao smiled bitterly. His perfect foundation made his Dao pillars extremely sturdy. His foundation was solid and indestructible. There was no way he could shatter his Dao pillars when fighting with Foundation Establishment Dao children. That's true. Liu was well aware of Meng Hao's situation. Liu turned to look at Su Qing and said, "However, elder sister Su, if you want to shatter your Dao pillars and form a Jindan, that should be enough. Starting next month, I'll go on a campaign to fight all sorts of heroes." Su Qing nodded with a smile. 2 months later, Wang Lihai, Dao child of the Wang clan, and Han Shandao, Dao child of the solitary sword sect, once again battled. In this battle, the two of them went all out, fighting to the death. Their bodies were covered with cuts and bruises, their tendons and bones broken. However, during this battle, the two of them gathered their battle intent and finally shattered their Dao pillars, taking the crucial step towards the core formation stage. 3 months later, Chuyuyan formed her gold core and advanced to the Jindan stage. At the end of the month, Wang Lihai and Han Shandao also successfully formed their Aurus cores and advanced to Jindan. Time continued to pass, and the battle continued. 5 months later, Li Daoi, Song Jia, Tenyu the Golden Frost sect, Li Shiqi of the Blood Demon sect, and Zhou Jia of the Black Civ sect all reached core formation. 6 months later, Chun Fan and Shan Ling of the Solitary Sword sect both reached core formation. 8 months later, Su Qing formed her gold core. Wang Tingfei of the Wang clan formed his gold core. A year later, the eruption of the ancient Dao geyser was nearing its end. Core formation cultivators from all over the world emerged one after another. The new generation of heaven's favorites of the southern domain had officially entered the Jindan era. Even that glutton Li Fugui had already formed his gold core. All of you have formed your gold cores. It's time for me to make my move. Meng Hao strode out of the sect's encampment and out of the ancient Dao geyser. Then, he returned to his original appearance, donned the blood immortal mask, and returned to the ancient Dao geyser. "I am Meng Hao." 2 enormous wings of wind appeared behind him as he flew up into the air. He pointed at the various chosen of the southern domain. "Which one of you dares to fight me? Meng Hao, you still dare to show your face?" He possessed the blood immortal legacy and the sublime spirit scripture. Furthermore, he had harmed countless people during the Song clan's son-in-law selection ceremony. Meng Hao was like a rat on the street. Everyone wanted to beat him up. That was especially true of Wang Tongfei. His hatred for Meng Hao was so deep that even the waters of the 5 lakes and 4 seas would not be able to wash it clean. Chu Yuyin's expression was complicated. She lowered her head and said nothing. It was impossible to tell what she was thinking. Seeing the change in her expression, Su Qing's face grew cold. "Young man," she said, "it's not easy to enjoy the good fortune of having two lovers. If you have a foot in two boats, you will naturally run the risk of capsizing." Liu looked over at Chu Yuyin and Su Qing, his face full of smiles. "Meng Hao, hand over your life." The first to attack was Wang Tengfei. Roaring, Wang Tengfei shot up into the air toward Meng Hao. Since Wang Tengfei had already attacked, the other Dao children didn't do anything. Meng Hao is only at the foundation establishment stage. Considering the pride of the other Dao children, how could they, with their Jin Dan cultivation, gang up on a foundation establishment cultivator? Do you remember what I said all those years ago? Ant. No matter how much you struggle, you'll always be an ant. Wang Tengfei's face was ferocious, and his eyes shone with an ominous light. The Reliance sex opportunity had been stolen by Meng Hao. Chu Yuyin and Meng Hao had been involved in a scandal. The Song clan's son-in-law selection ceremony had cut off Wang Tengfei's opportunity to become the Song clan's son-in-law. How could Wang Tengfei endure such deep hatred? I've already reached core formation, and you're still only a foundation establishment cultivator. An ant will always be an ant. Hand over your life. Wang Tengfei roared like a madman. He pointed with his finger, and an endless amount of deathly stillness surged out, exterminating all life. This was the Wang clan's underworld finger, a peerless divine ability created by Wang Lin. Wang Tengfei, at the Jin Dan stage, could already display a sliver of the true meaning of this peerless divine ability. The sound of crashing waves could be heard as Wang Tengfei pointed with his finger. Suddenly, a vast river appeared. This was the Yellow Springs. This was the Underworld River, the place where all living beings returned to silence, the symbol of death. Still this move? Meng Hao's mouth twitched, and he sneered as he raised his arm. "Back then, I broke this move of yours. Now, I'll break this move of yours." The cool breeze is formless, the gentle wind is shadowless, and the astral wind is formless. A gust of wind howled, as if all the wind in the world was moving with it. Samadhi wind, the wind of freedom, the wind of freedom, the wind of freedom, the wind of freedom, the wind of the boundless universe. The endless gust of wind swept out, darkening the sky and dimming the sun and moon. Boom! The gust of wind swept out, and the Yellow Springs surged. The two boundless, violent forces collided, creating a heaven-shaking explosion. A powerful gust of wind swept out in all directions, sending sand and stones flying. Puff! Wang Tengfei flew backward, slamming into the ground with a boom. Blood sprayed out his mouth. "Impossible. You're only at the foundation establishment stage, and I'm already at core formation. How could you possibly defeat me?" Wang Tengfei let out a shrill howl. He was so ashamed that he wanted to die. Then he fainted, because a perfect foundation can create a 10-level Dao pillar. Compared to your flawed 9-level Dao pillar Jin Dan, my 10-level perfect foundation is no worse than yours. Meng Hao laughed coldly in his heart. Feeling the will to do battle in his heart, Meng Hao felt helpless. Not enough. Still not enough. This will to do battle is not enough to shatter my 10-level perfect Dao pillar. Then, Meng Hao lifted his arm and pointed at the core formation Dao children. "All of you, come at me together." "How arrogant!" roared Li Daoyi, the Dao child of the Li clan, whose blood immortal legacy had been stolen by Meng Hao. His entire body burned with golden flames as he shot up into the air. "Meng Hao, it's time to settle our old debts." The blazing flames soared into the sky, illuminating half of the sky. It was like a sea of fire that reached the heavens. Numerous flame dragons wriggled through the sea of fire. Their power rose to the heavens. Chapter 1249. Compared to Wang Tengfei, you're quite a bit stronger. The Samadhi wind had defeated Wang Tengfei, because Wang Tengfei's foundation was far weaker than Meng Hao's. Without the sublime spirit scripture, Wang Tengfei would not have been able to reach flawless foundation. A Dao pillar covered in cracks naturally had a weak foundation. Li Daoi, a Dao child from a noble clan, had only one crack on his Dao pillar. Compared to Wang Tengfei, he was much stronger. Fire can borrow the power of the wind. But if the wind is too strong, it can also extinguish the flames. I want to see if your fire can withstand my samadhi, celestial wind. The flying rain dragon's demonic core had given Meng Hao the flying rain dragon's innate ability to control the wind. Meng Hao used all of his power to control the wind, the most powerful force he could muster. Take this, samadhi wind. A gust of wind howled and turned into a tornado that reached the sky. This tornado was no longer formless wind, but rather a yellow wind. This wind could cause the heavens and earth to darken. It could scrape away the worries of ghosts and gods. It could shatter rocks and shatter cliffs. It could kill. It could pierce through forests, break trees, and topple pine plums. It could sow dust and shatter mountains. Rivers and seas splashed, and rivers of stars fell. Heaven and earth mourned. This was no longer Liu's samadhi wind, but rather Meng Hao's own samadhi demonic wind. Amidst the howling yellow wind, amidst the samadhi demonic wind, the shadow of an enormous dragon appeared. The dragon's body coiled for thousands of miles, its wings stretched out to cover the sky. This was the sovereign of the skies. This was the master of the wind. This was the flying rain dragon. Roar! The howling wind seemed to transform into a heaven-shaking, earth-shattering roar. The yellow wind filled the sky, sweeping out in all directions. Rumble! Heaven shaking and earth shattering. Mountains crumbled and the earth cracked. With this strike, the sea of fire that Li Daoi had unleashed was instantly shattered and extinguished by the samadhi demonic wind. Li Daoi spat out a mouthful of blood. He was sent flying dozens of miles out of the valley. He's actually this strong? If he could defeat Wang Tengfei with one strike, it could still be said that Wang Tengfei's strength was weak and was not on the same level as a Taoist. And now, Dao, child Li Daoi of the Li clan, one of the top figures of the younger generation in the southern domain, had been defeated by Meng Hao with a single blow? Even more frightening was the fact that Meng Hao hadn't even reached core formation. He was only a peak foundation establishment cultivator. No wonder he could cause such a huge commotion. It was no wonder that he was able to live so freely despite being wanted by the 3 clans and 5 sects. His strength is indeed tyrannical. If Sword Godly Yu of our Yu sect was still here, how could Meng Hao be so arrogant? The fans of the Yu Gate were all indignant. Supposedly, Meng Hao and Sword Godly Yu came from the same sect, and Sword Godly Yu had been Meng Hao's scapegoat on many occasions. But now, the wretched Meng Hao was so powerful and invincible. However, the righteous and selfless Sword Godly Yu had already fallen. Heavens, why are you so unfair? Why didn't the Scourge Meng Hao die, but rather Sword Godly Yu, the noble and unsullied hero of the present age? Cough, cough. Liu was drinking tea when he heard the shouts of the fans. He choked and coughed. His actions attracted the attention of the onlookers. Sorry, I choked on my water. Liu could only lower his head and admit his mistake in the face of the passionate fans. None of you are a match for me in a one-on-one fight. Come at me together. Meng Hao stepped onto the yellow wind, and the image of an enormous flying rain dragon appeared above his head. He pointed toward the group of Dao children. Truth be told, I want to use this battle to condense my will for battle, shatter my Dao pillars, and form my Jindan. Come, let's have a good fight. Since Elder Brother Meng is so interested, we'll gladly oblige. Blood Demon, Sect, Dao, Childly Shichi leaped up into the air. You want to condense your will for battle? Fine. Let's see how strong your Dao pillars are. You actually want to fight me on the same level. Song Jia also leaped into the air. Then let's have a good fight. Meng Hao's strength had already been acknowledged by the onlookers. He was now a chosen who could rival Tao children. If you want to break through, then I'll let you. Let's see who can walk to the end on the path of cultivation. Who can walk to the end? The Golden Frost sect Tao children, the Solitary Sword sect Tao children, the Violet Fate sect Tao children, and the Black Sieve sect Tao children all leaped into the air and charged toward Meng Hao. Come, let's fight to our heart's content. He waved his hand, and the flying rain dragon let out a long roar. An endless wild wind sprang up. Meng Hao, take my sword. The Solitary Sword sect Tao child waved his hand, sending out a sword chi that could rend the heavens and cleave the clouds. You want us to fight you together? Meng Hao, aren't you afraid you'll lose? Wang Lihai roared as he smashed his fist down. A wild wind screamed, and yellow wind filled the sky. Sword chi shot up into the heavens, and astral winds filled the air. Several Tao children surrounded Meng Hao and began to beat him up. They fought until the sky turned dark and the earth shook. Not enough. Still not enough. As Meng Hao fought with the Tao children, he felt the will to fight building up inside of him. However, it still wasn't enough for him to shatter the 10-layered Tao pillars of his perfect foundation. Meng Hao, I'll fight you. Chuyin leaped into the air and charged toward Meng Hao, seething with killing intent. How dare you? Su Qing roared and leaped into the air. She waved her hand, sending out a beam of violet light that shot toward Chu Yuyan. Meng Hao, it's not appropriate for your big brother to interfere in your harem battles. Liu shrugged and sighed helplessly. An inch of harem blood. Young man, the harem is dangerous. You need to be careful. Liu couldn't possibly get involved in a battle between women. But I'm afraid Meng Hao isn't strong enough to shatter the Tao pillars. Liu picked up a stone and threw it at Chun Fan. Hurry up and help him break through. Otherwise, he'll be beaten to death. Gathering the will to fight was for the sake of breaking through, not to die. The longer Meng Hao delayed, the greater the danger. If Meng Hao couldn't gather enough will to fight in a short period of time, he wasn't an immortal. How could he beat so many Tao children working together? If he couldn't break through, he would die. Understood. Chun Fan pulled out his sword and turned to Shan Ling. Junior sister, let's go meet this Meng Hao. Chun Fan and Shan Ling leaped into the air and charged at Meng Hao. Junior brother Meng, take this. Sword of the Mountain. Chun Fan let out a roar as he swung the sword in his hand. Liu passed down the Howren sword to Chun Fan. In Chun Fan's hands, his enlightenment was the mountain. Heaven and earth were filled with righteousness and chaos. Below were rivers and mountains. Above were the sun and stars. The mountain was the backbone of the earth, strong and unyielding, towering majestically. The sword slashed out, as if a towering mountain was pressing down, its strength extremely heavy. Sword of the Monolith. Shan Ling followed closely behind Chun Fan, slashing out with her sword. Steady as a monolith, majestic and unmoving. Firm as a monolith, unyielding and unyielding. The two sword wills complemented each other, exploding with enormous power. Ha ha ha! Enough! Enough! Chun Fan and Shan Ling's combined sword attack exploded with enormous pressure, allowing Meng Hao to gather enough will to fight or battle chi. Boom! Brilliant golden light shot up into the sky like the sun, rising from the east, illuminating the earth. His perfect 10-level Tao pillars exploded with a bang. All the power in his body began to crazily condense and collapse. Dragon and tiger converged, and the Jin Dan was completed. Perfect foundation, 10 perfect Tao pillars. Once he broke through, he could immediately form the core. This was something Liu had personally verified. This was also the reason why Meng Hao dared to challenge everyone so recklessly. Many thanks for your help, everyone. Meng Hao laughed and slapped the blood immortal mask. A mighty blood-red light filled the sky. Faceless. One word. Flames of war unite. With the power of the Jin Dan and the blood immortal legacy, he sent all the surrounding cultivators flying. Until next time, everyone. Pulling out the good luck charm, he activated the teleportation technique and disappeared without a trace. He really succeeded? He really is extraordinary. Seeing Meng Hao successfully break through his cultivation base and then fly away, the Dao children suddenly felt a sense of defeat. They couldn't help but feel, since Jade was born, how could it be born bright? Chapter 1250. The eruption of the ancient Dao geyser was over. The new generation of Chosen in the southern domain had officially entered the Jindan era. This ancient enlightenment allowed the Dao children and geniuses of the various sects to reach the Jindan level, saving them more than 10 years of effort. This was a grand occasion. However, there were only two people who were the most dazzling in this grand meeting. The first was Li Yu. He was the first to gain enlightenment of the ancient Dao geyser, and then openly displayed it to the public. Selling it for money didn't detract from his glory. After all, enlightenment like this was not something that could be bought with money. The second was Meng Hao. He had fought alone against a host of heroes, and had been surrounded by numerous Dao children. He had reached the Jindan level, and then floated away. Such glory was unparalleled in the world, and caused the various Dao children to pale in comparison. "I've always been outstanding," said Meng Hao. "I don't need anyone to remind me of that." Meng Hao was once again Feng Mu. When he heard these comments, a bashful expression appeared on his face. Inwardly, however, he was feeling quite pleased with himself. He followed the Violet Fate sect disciples back to the sect. Before he could even sit down, he heard another piece of news. The Violet Furnace Lord promotion trial by fire has begun. All Furnace Lords may enter the Violet Fate Celestial Land to participate in the Violet Furnace Lord promotion trial by fire. Grandmaster Pill Demon will select the winner and accept him as a legacy apprentice. The sound of bells filled the air, filling the entire Violet Fate sect's headquarters. Violet Furnace Lord promotion trial by fire? Grandmaster Pill Demon is accepting an apprentice? Hurry up! Hurry up! In the blink of an eye, the entire Violet Fate sect was in an uproar. Regardless of whether or not they qualified for the trial by fire, everyone hurried toward the Violet Fate Celestial Land to watch the rare spectacle. Grandmaster Pill Demon is accepting an apprentice? Meng Hao's eyes glittered, and he rose to his feet. The more he delved into the Tao of alchemy, the more he realized how unfathomable it was. His respect for Grandmaster Pill Demon, the #1 figure in the Tao of alchemy in the southern domain, grew. If he could become Grandmaster Pill Demon's legacy apprentice, then his path of the Tao of alchemy would be even further. Such an opportunity could not be missed. Having made up his mind, he flew toward the Violet Fate Celestial Land. Eastern Emergence Mountain. The first mountain of the state of Eastern Emergence was also the holy land of the Violet Fate sect. Mount Donglai towered into the clouds, towering over 10,000 meters, majestic and majestic. At the peak of Mount Eastern Emergence, a gigantic purple alchemy furnace stood tall, emitting an endless radiance. Purple light circulated in the sky, illuminating the heavens and the earth, causing the entire sky to be filled with purple clouds. This was the Violet Fate Divine Furnace, which is also the main body of the Violet Fate Celestial Land. There are actually so many people. By the time Meng Hao reached the foot of Eastern Emergence Mountain, all he could see were people everywhere. In addition to the disciples of the Violet Fate sect's Pill and Qi division, there were also cultivator clans from all over the state of Eastern Emergence, as well as minor sect cultivators and rogue cultivators. Even alchemy cultivators from other parts of the southern domain had rushed over to observe the ceremony. You can do it. You'll definitely take first place. You'll definitely become Grandmaster Pill Demon's disciple. Su Qing stood beside Meng Hao, cheering him on. Yes, I will do my best. With that, he began to walk toward Eastern Emergence Mountain. Brotherly, you're here too? When Meng Hao reached the bottom of Eastern Emergence Mountain, he saw Liu standing at the entrance to the spiral staircase leading to the peak. Brotherly, are you also planning to become Grandmaster Pill Demon's apprentice? Meng Hao was very surprised. Wasn't Brother Li a peerless expert who had traveled the universe? How could he be planning to become an apprentice? I'm just here to take a look. Liu smiled and nodded. He pointed toward the spiral staircase. Go on, climb halfway up the mountain, and you'll pass the preliminary examination. You'll be qualified to participate in the trial by fire. Climb to the top, and you'll become Grandmaster Pill Demon's Legacy Apprentice. Then I'll go register. Meng Hao nodded and walked toward the registration area. This Violet Furnace Lord trial by fire was set up by Grandmaster Pill Demon for Meng Hao. There's no doubt that Meng Hao will become Grandmaster Pill Demon's apprentice. Liu looked up at the top of the mountain, at the glittering violet pill furnace. He smiled. Congratulations, fellow Taoist. You found an excellent apprentice. Now that the karma has come to an end, I must take my leave. Take care, fellow Taoist. Grandmaster Pill Demon's warm voice rang out in Liu's ear. Fellow Taoist, you joined the Violet Fate sect to practice cultivation, but in return, you gave me a wood refining technique. Now that I think about it, I got the better end of the deal. You gave me a peach of wood. I gave you a fine jasper. Everything happens because of karma. Liu clasped his hands in salute toward the top of the mountain, then turned and floated away. A session of cultivation and experience. The Violet Fate sect is just one stop on my journey. After leaving the Violet Fate sect, Liu looked off into the distance, toward the central region of the southern domain, in the direction of the Rebirth Cave. Danu is cultivating the 6 Daos of reincarnation in the Rebirth Cave, he said. Chomentai has been outside for many years now. He's recovered some of his power. Liu smiled and nodded. After he becomes Grandmaster Pill Demon's apprentice, Chomentai will summon him. I wonder if he'll kill a member of the G clan this time. Will he cause such a huge disaster that he'll have no choice but to flee the southern domain? He produced a talisman and flicked his finger. A beam of light shot through the air toward the Rebirth Cave, landing next to Danu. Danu, in a few days, that little friend from the League of Demon Sealers will come to the Rebirth Cave. Take care of him. Don't let him die. The beam of light landed in Danu's hand, and Liu's voice could be heard. Senior, Danu will obey your orders. In response to Liu's message, Danu nodded her head in agreement. After the light from the talisman faded away, Danu was silent for a long moment. Her expression was complex. The League of Demon Sealers. She let out a long sigh, and then her face filled with sadness. We're both members of the League of Demon Sealers, and we're both parasitized by the Resurrection Lily. Your fate, will it lead you to another direction? I hope you don't walk the same path as he did, and don't walk the same path as we did. That path will be too painful, too painful. Tears welled up in her eyes, and then she slowly closed them. The Rebirth Cave once again sank into silence. With Danu watching over him, said Chomentai, even if he does kill a member of the G clan, he won't die. I didn't mess up your plans, Shui Donglu. You can keep playing along for now. In the legacy zone of Lord Li, Liu had promised Li Muin that he would look after Wang Ping, who was also Shui Donglu. Naturally, Liu couldn't go back on his word. In the future, the mountain and sea realm will face destruction, and Shui Donglu will perish. I made a promise to Li Muin, so naturally, I won't let that happen. However, I have now entered the world to recultivate. If I don't undo the seal, I won't be strong enough. Most importantly, I came here to complete the first step of the formless primordial chaos technique, which is to transform my body into primal chaos. I already have an idea of how to proceed. The third severing of spirit severing is the key to my breakthrough. After playing around for so long, it's time for I to get down to business. Liu turned his head to the west, toward the lands of the Western Desert, and smiled. Over there is where I will achieve my breakthrough. Chapter 1251. The Western Desert was a wild and desolate place. It was different from the orthodox cultivation path of the southern domain. The cultivation path of the Western Desert was based on the Tao of Totems. Although the Tao of Totems is worth researching, what is truly useful to me is the Western Desert's so-called secret dragoner arts. Cultivating strange beasts, controlling strange beasts, and controlling strange beasts in battle. These are the Western Desert's secret dragoner arts. When I studied the Tao of alchemy in the Violet Fate sect, I gained an understanding of the nature of plants and vegetation, as well as a deeper understanding of the Tao of derivation from all living things. However, the Tao of alchemy only focuses on the derivation of plants and vegetation. The secret dragoner arts focus on strange beasts, cultivating strange beasts, causing them to mutate, transforming them into demons, and even transforming them into sacred totemic beasts. This was also a type of power of good fortune. The Tao of derivation from all living things, in addition to inanimate objects, was even more critical in the derivation of plants and animals, and even other types of life forms. Pengu created the heavens, and Nuwa created man. Although I've created energy life forms before, I've never truly created life. The ghost immortals of the sun god realm were the lords of creation and could create energy life forms such as the flame dragons of the Nine Flames. Liu had used this method to torment the spirit clan in the mortal world and had even personally created a lightning dragon. However, the true creation of life had never been done. No wonder I've never been able to master the formless primal chaos technique. It's because I haven't reached the pinnacle of the path of the essence of matter. I haven't completely grasped it. Liu shook his head with a bitter smile. With Liu's current level, he was able to control the origin of matter and create all living beings. This was already something that Liu could do. However, Liu had never done such a thing. In fact, he hadn't even thought about it. Along the way, Sai, Xiaoling, Teng Qing, and the others had all been created by the power of the system. More importantly, none of them were truly human. Of the people by Liu's side, with the exception of Jiang Tingting and Yin Luo, none of them were human. My experience on Earth caused me to be bound by its ethics and morals. Subconsciously, I have some sort of aversion to the idea of creating life or even creating humans. Liu could not help but laugh. The origin of matter was the creation of all things and all living beings. Since he had missed this lesson, he naturally had to make up for it. Liu shot up into the sky, flying in the direction of the Western Desert. Between the southern region and the Western Desert was a stretch of black land. This place was called the Blacklands. Even though Liu had used some teleportation formations in some cultivator cities to travel across the vast southern region, it still took him half a month. A month had passed by the time a pitch-black, scorched earth appeared in front of Liu. So this is the Blacklands? We have to pass through the Blacklands to reach the Western Desert. Liu shook his head again. Before my cultivation was sealed, no matter how far it was, I only needed one step to cross the entire all-heaven. I haven't traveled like this for a long time. Boom! At this moment, there was a faint tremor in the ground. It seemed to be a slight earthquake. This is the rebirth cave? Sensing the direction of the tremor, Liu's eyebrows shot up. So, it really has begun? I hope that kid Meng Hao isn't too miserable. Actually, Meng Hao really was miserable. Having completed the Violet Furnace Lord trial by fire, he ascended to the peak of Easter Emergence Mountain and stood in front of Grandmaster Pill Demon, officially becoming his legacy apprentice. East Pill, Ever-Burning Flame, Alchemy Tao Regeneration Incantation, Purple Cloud Pill Scripture. These were all things that Grandmaster Pill Demon had personally taught him. Meng Hao had benefited greatly. However, before 2 days had passed, an unforeseen event occurred in the Rebirth Cave. The immortal's corpse that had descended from the heavens all those years ago was once again stirring. The various sects of the southern domain sent people to investigate the immortal's corpse. Meng Hao felt something calling out to him, as if the immortal's corpse were calling out to him. Therefore, he followed the group from the Violet Fate sect to the Rebirth Cave. The immortal's corpse exploded with power, sucking everyone into its internal dimension. Meng Hao was also sucked into the immortal's internal dimension. Within his sea of consciousness, he acquired Chomin Tai's legacy of immortal qi. However, Ji Hongdong, a member of the Ji clan, had come for that immortal qi. How could Ji Hongdong possibly be willing to let Meng Hao beat him to it? You dare to fight me over it? You dare to fight me over it? In this world, the Ji clan is the heavens. You dare to defy the heavens? Ji Hongdong was enraged, and without the slightest hesitation, attacked Meng Hao. The lord of the ninth mountain and sea was Ji Tian. The ninth mountain and sea belonged to the Ji clan, and the Ji clan was the heavens. If the heavens want you dead, then that's the will of the heavens. As a member of the Ji clan, Ji Hongdong didn't hesitate to kill Meng Hao. He didn't care at all. It was as easy as crushing an ant. Defy the heavens? I've already defied the heavens many times. Meng Hao is an easygoing person on the outside, but stubborn on the inside. If you want to kill me, then I'll kill you. Who cares who you are? A member of the Ji clan is not easy to kill. Ordinary methods simply can't kill him. Even the Dao children of the various great sects of the southern domain had life-saving treasures bestowed upon them by their patriarchs. A member of the Ji clan had a much higher status than a Dao child of the southern domain. Naturally, his life-saving treasures would be even more terrifying. Not only would it not be easy to kill him, but the consequences would be severe. He crushed the command medallion that represented his status in the Violet Fate sect, then shed his Feng Mu persona and revealed his true self. The name Meng Hao is already burdened with countless crimes. What's the point of being accused of killing a member of the Ji clan? He took a deep breath and then produced a long spear. A three-colored spear. Back then, Liu had created a total of 3 tri-colored spears. He had sold one to Elder Wu of the Violet Fate sect and one to a Western desert cultivator at an auction. This was the last one. It's a fake, but it still contains the power of Patriarch Reliance. Liu had infused the power of Patriarch Reliance's restrictive spells into the 3-colored spear, causing the fake to be able to unleash the power of spirit severing. That was how it had been able to pass itself off as a spirit-severing treasure. As of this moment, all Meng Hao needed to do was attack. The only thing he could do was take advantage of the moment when the Ji clan son was arrogant and looking down on Meng Hao to kill him. Otherwise, if he got serious and brought out the treasures of the Ji clan, or even his life-saving treasures, then Meng Hao would have no chance at all. Meng Hao, the murderer! He roared, raising the 3-colored spear and thrusting it forward. Gold, silver, and white. The 3 colors intertwined, and an enormous aura surged out. Within the 3-colored light suddenly appeared the image of a gigantic, incomparably ferocious turtle. Roar! The gigantic turtle roared, and the 3-colored light poured out like an upside-down river. The Ji clan son had never imagined that Meng Hao would have such a technique up his sleeve. Caught off guard, he didn't even have time to let out a miserable shriek before he was annihilated by the 3-colored light. The Ji clan son had perished. The Ji clan was the heavens. Meng Hao had pierced through the heavens. This was a calamity that could overturn the heavens. Chapter 1252. Planet South Heaven. The Great Tang of the Eastern Lands. This was the opposite shore of the Milky Way Sea, a different world from the southern domain. Karma? This is the karma of the Ji clan? The moment Ji Hongdong died, an old man suddenly looked up from atop a snow-white mountain in the northwest region of the Eastern Lands. It was a mountain of white rock, completely devoid of life. It was an old man who fished. At the peak of the white mountain was a celestial pond. The old man held a fishing rod in his hand as he sat on the edge of the seemingly bottomless celestial pond. A fishing line fell into the water, as if he were fishing. Suddenly, ripples began to spread out across the surface of the celestial pond. The ripples were coming from the direction of the fishing line. Karma of the Ji clan? Who is it? Who dares to form karma with the Ji clan? The old man frowned, then reached out to grab the fishing rod and tugged. As the ripples spread out, the fishing line was pulled up, and suddenly a face appeared on the hook. The face belonged to none other than Ji Hongdong, who had died at the hands of Meng Hao. The killer is Meng Hao. Meng Hao is also Fong Mu. Patriarch, please avenge me. As soon as the words left the man's mouth, the face on the hook vanished without a trace. Huh? The old man's face flickered, and his eyes glowed with coldness. The son of the Ji clan perished? Someone actually dares to kill a member of the Ji clan? What incredible gall. I can't believe he died at the hands of mortals. What a useless piece of trash. The old man cursed angrily, and the coldness in his eyes grew more intense. However, it doesn't matter how useless he is still a member of the Ji clan. How could mortals like you possibly kill him? He produced a jade talisman and pointed at it, causing a glittering light to appear. The son of the Ji clan perished. The killer is Meng Hao, also known as Fong Mu. The news instantly spread to the southern domain and to the Ji clan members outside the rebirth cave. Patriarch Ji Fong sent word that the son of the Ji clan perished. The killer is Meng Hao, also known as Fong Mu. Outside the rebirth cave, Ji Hongdong's Dao protectors rushed out, looks of astonishment on their faces. Who is Meng Hao? Who is Fong Mu? A spirit-severing cultivator and a few dozen nascent soul cultivators charged forward, shouting at the cultivators from the 3 clans and 5 sects. The son of Ji has perished. The killer was Meng Hao, also known as Fong Mu. Meng Hao, or Fong Mu? Which clan is he from? Hurry up and report it. Otherwise, your entire clan will be exterminated. Not even a chicken or a dog will be spared. The protectors protecting Ji Hongdong yelled hysterically. Their faces were twisted and filled with madness. They couldn't be blamed for going crazy. Jizi's death was due to their failure to protect him. If they didn't catch the culprit as soon as possible, not only would they die, but their entire families would also die. Meng Hao is Fong Mu. Pill Cauldron Grandmaster Fong Mu? The personal apprentice of Grandmaster Pill Demon of the Violet Fates sect, the genius of the Tao of Alchemy, Fong Mu, is actually Meng Hao? Upon hearing the Ji clan's words, the crowd from the various sects of the southern domain was stupefied. Violet Fates sect? Fong Mu was a disciple of the Violet Fates sect? Your disciple dared to kill GZ? Does your Violet Fates sect want to be exterminated? Hearing the cries of alarm from the southern domain, the Ji clan spearhead turned to the Violet Fates sect. Fong Mu was indeed a disciple of our sect. One of the Violet Fates sect's spirit-severing patriarchs clenched his teeth, his face expressionless. Just now, Fong Mu destroyed his Violet Fate command medallion and betrayed the sect. As of this moment, Fong Mu is no longer a disciple of the Violet Fates sect. Fong Mu betrayed the sect. Everyone present knew why Fong Mu had betrayed the sect. He didn't want to implicate the sect or bring disaster upon the sect. Therefore, he destroyed his own command medallion and betrayed the sect. The strange changes in the immortal corpse had caused many disciples from the various sects to be sucked into its internal dimension. Obviously, there was an immortal's legacy within the immortal corpse. Considering GZ's status, if Ji Hongdong had acquired the legacy, then Fong Mu would have had misgivings about the sect and wouldn't have attacked GZ. Conversely, if Fong Mu had acquired the legacy, then GZ would have attacked him. The reason why Fong Mu wanted to kill GZ was obvious at a glance. The Ji clan was too powerful for the Violet Fates sect to oppose. In his desperate struggle, Fong Mu had no choice but to kill GZ. However, in order to avoid implicating the sect, he had betrayed the sect. Such a disciple, such a loyal and devoted disciple, was not protected by the sect. This hatred was boundless. The Violet Fates sect cultivators gritted their teeth, speechless. So he's no longer a disciple of the Violet Fates sect? The Ji clan Dao protector looked deeply at the Violet Fates sect patriarchs, then gave a heavy snort. He turned and charged toward the immortal corpse. The Violet Fates sect was not to be trifled with. Considering the Ji clan's current level of power, if they took their anger out on the Violet Fates sect, then they would have no choice but to let it go. Boom! Suddenly, a beam of light shot out from the top of the immortal corpse's head, and a figure appeared. It was none other than Meng Hao. It's him. Thief! Where do you think you're going? Seeing Meng Hao appear, the G-Clan's spirit-severing cultivators and dozens of nascent soul cultivators roared and charged toward him. Meng Hao, what a pity. Seeing this, the cultivators of the southern domain had complex expressions on their faces, and they sighed. Meng Hao was only in the core formation stage. Against a spirit-severing cultivator and dozens of nascent soul cultivators, he was powerless to fight back. AI. It was at this moment that a sigh could be heard from within the rebirth cave. A beam of moonlight shot out, transforming into a slender, jade-like hand that waved toward the G-Clan cultivators. Boom! A loud sound rang out. The slender, jade-like hand waved, and the G-Clan spirit-severing cultivators, as well as the nascent soul cultivators, were sent tumbling to the ground, blood spraying from their mouths. Immortal! The cultivators outside of the rebirth cave could sense the boundless power contained within the slender, jade-like hand, as well as the unique, unparalleled divine might. All of them stared with wide eyes and slack jaws. An immortal had just attacked? An immortal was inside the rebirth cave? Who are you? How dare you interfere in the affairs of the G-Clan? The G-Clan's spirit-severing cultivator wiped the blood from his mouth and pointed at the rebirth cave, his face filled with savagery. If you stop now, we won't pursue the matter any further. If you don't, you'll be sowing karma with the G-Clan. It doesn't matter how high your cultivation base is, you'll still end up dead. The G-Clan on planet South Heaven couldn't be considered very powerful. However, to the G-Clan as a whole, immortals didn't count for much. G-Clan? Haha. G-Tion is only the lord of the 9th mountain and sea. The mountain and sea realm has the other 8 mountains and seas. Does your G-Clan really think you're the heavens? A cold laugh could be heard from within the rebirth cave. G-Tion can't do anything to me. Besides, it's not just me. Even Meng Hao, whom you're after, isn't someone G-Tion can afford to provoke. Don't blame me for not warning you. Even if G-Tion dares to kill Meng Hao, if he dares to do so, haha, I'm afraid the heavens of the 9th mountain and sea are about to change. What? When they heard the voice from within the rebirth cave, everyone in the outside world was scared senseless. If G-Tion dared to kill Meng Hao, the heavens of the 9th mountain and sea were about to change? What kind of person was G-Tion? He was the heavens of the 9th mountain and sea. Everything in the 9th mountain and sea, including life and death, was controlled by a single thought from G-Tion. If someone like that tried to kill Meng Hao, would the only outcome be death? Meng Hao, just who was he? Chapter 1253. Meng Hao is stupefied. Since when did I become so important? Since when did I have such a powerful background? What exactly is going on? Ha ha ha. What utter arrogance. Something about G-Tion killing Meng Hao, and the 9th mountain and sea will change. Of course, the G-Clan didn't believe a single word of such nonsense. Even if you're an immortal, you can't protect Meng Hao. If you have karma with the G-Clan, then the only path left for you is death. The G-Clan spirit-severing cultivator's face was twisted with rage. He produced a jade talisman and sent a message to Patriarch Ji-Fong. Patriarch, there's an immortal blocking the way. We can't deal with him. Immortal? Beside the White Mountain Heavenly Lake, Ji-Fong borrowed this information and immediately frowned. There are immortals? There are immortals in the southern domain? Even Ji-Fong himself was only in the early Tao-seeking realm and was far from immortal ascension. Naturally, he couldn't fight against an immortal. But there's karma with the G-Clan. Even if you're an immortal, you can't protect him. With a loud snort, Ji-Fong reached out and grabbed the fishing rod. The fishing line flew out and landed in front of him in the middle of the lake. The water rippled, and the fishing line seemed to pierce through the air, following the karma link to land in the southern domain and the rebirth cave. Buzz! Outside of the rebirth cave, the air rippled like water. A silver light flashed, and the fishing line pierced through the air and dropped down from the sky. In that instant, heaven and earth seemed to solidify. Everything was still. The wind was still. The clouds were still. Everyone outside of the rebirth cave was motionless. It was as if some indescribable power had locked down heaven and earth. What's going on? As of this moment, Meng Hao was completely stupefied. He had never seen anything so bizarre and had no idea what was going on. Everything was locked down and everything was still. The only thing that remained was the fishing line, the hook glowing with silver light. It was translucent and sparkling as it slashed through the air, through the Karma link, and toward Meng Hao. I can't let it hook me. An indescribable sense of crisis welled up in Meng Hao's heart, causing his hair to stand on end. Although he didn't know exactly what this fishing line was, he knew that he absolutely couldn't allow himself to be hooked. If he did, his fate would be miserable. Run. Without the slightest hesitation, he took to his heels. Just as he was about to take a step forward, he suddenly realized that he couldn't even take a single step. So, I was also imprisoned? An indescribable fear welled up in Meng Hao's heart. This kind of strange attack was completely unstoppable. You're a demon sealer. Where is your demon sealing ancient seal? Where's your demon sealing ancient seal? At this moment, the anxious voice of a woman suddenly rang out in his mind. Is this the senior from the rebirth cave who saved me? When he heard the voice, he was shocked. Demon sealing hex. My demon sealing ancient seal? Right, the demon sealing ancient seal. Ancient Tao. Tenacious will to seal the heavens. Benevolent will to all living beings in the mountains and rivers. Tao tribulation of the 9 mountains and seas. My boundless will. He murmured the words of the demon, sealing ancient scripture in his mind, and suddenly, he was able to move. The 8th demon sealing hex. Body sealing hex. With a point of his finger, the space rippled like water. The fishing line that was descending from the sky suddenly came to a halt under the power of this spatial imprisonment. Crunch. After being imprisoned for a moment, the fishing line continued forward. 3rd demon sealing hex. Ancient and modern hex. He waved his finger again, and the image of the river of time appeared at the tip of his finger. The speeding fishing line seemed to experience an endless amount of time. Its speed was now as slow as a snail's. This consumes too much spiritual power. I can't hold on for much longer. The 3rd demon sealing hex was the 3rd hex passed down by Lord Li. It was not something that Meng Hao, with his current cultivation base, could control. Even though he was only using a sliver of its power, it caused his spiritual power to pour out like a river from a broken dam. This is the G clan's karma magic. I've been cut off from the karma. I need a bit more time to break free. The rebirth cave. Come to me. Hurry. Danu's anxious voice rang out in his mind. All right. Without hesitation, Meng Hao turned and ran toward the rebirth cave. 1 breath. 2 breaths. Time passed. Meng Hao was getting closer and closer to the rebirth cave. However, the spiritual power in his body was running low. At the most, I'll only have 3 breaths of time before all of my spiritual power is gone. The hex of ancient and modern won't be able to block the fishing line. Meng Hao gritted his teeth and pulled out a medicinal pill. It was a violet medicinal pill. This was the first divine pill that Meng Hao had concocted after becoming Grandmaster Pill Cauldron. My will is devilish. This was the bedevilment pill. If I don't go mad, I won't live. Without hesitation, he popped the bedevilment pill into his stomach. A wild, determined aura filled his mind. A rumbling sound filled the air, and Meng Hao's entire being seemed to be on fire. Everything was burning, all for one final moment of brilliance. Charge! Charge into the rebirth cave. That was his only chance at survival. Meng Hao roared, exploding with all the power he could muster as he sped toward the rebirth cave. 3,000 meters. 300 meters. He was getting closer and closer. The rebirth cave was right in front of him. You think you can escape? A cold laugh rang out, and a group of figures flashed to block Meng Hao's path. These people were the G clan's spirit-severing cultivators and nascent soul cultivators. Of course, the G clan's karma won't imprison us, G clan members. Accept your fate, kid. The G clan spirit-severing cultivator lifted his hand and struck out with his palm. An enormous power surged out, slamming into Meng Hao like an enormous mountain. Puff! Meng Hao coughed up a mouthful of blood as he was sent flying backward. He slammed into the ground off in the distance. Meng Hao was very surprised. The attack of a spirit-severing cultivator was not something that Meng Hao could possibly defend against. How come? He wasn't dead after that attack. I'm not going to let you die so easily. The G clan spirit-severing cultivator looked at Meng Hao with a vicious smile. Then he looked at the fishing line flying toward him. This is the G clan's magic of karma. Once karma is fished out, it will sever all of your karma in the world. The spirit-severing cultivator gnashed his teeth. You dare to kill the son of G? That's the consequence of killing him. Not only will you die, but you'll die completely and thoroughly. You'll die completely and cleanly. Your parents, your friends, your relatives, your lovers, even your enemies. Everyone who has karma with you will completely and utterly forget about your existence. Meng Hao, Feng Mu, everything about you will disappear forever. Karma will forever erase your existence. The G clan cultivators looked at Meng Hao with cold smiles on their faces as the sparkling, translucent fishing line shot toward him and wrapped around him. Sever karma. Destroy karma. Everything vanishes like smoke into thin air. A tremor ran through Meng Hao's body. He felt as if his soul were being tightly bound, as if an enormous power were pulling it out of his body. His consciousness grew hazy, and his soul was in chaos. Vaguely, a furious roar could be heard. You dare to kill him? All of you are going to die. Dazzling white light surged out like a raging tide. A white-robed figure flew out from within the rebirth cave. With one blow, he crushed all of the G clan cultivators. Chapter 1254. Sever Karma. Sever Karma. Vaguely, Meng Hao could hear a mighty voice in his mind. Karma. Suddenly, he saw countless threads spreading out from his body, intersecting with each other to form something like a gigantic net. It was impossible to tell where they were connected. These were his karma threads. Meng Hao didn't know what they meant, but he had the feeling that they contained his entire life. Sever. The voice boomed like thunder, like a command from heaven and earth. Meng Hao's entire body trembled violently. At this moment, he saw all the threads around his body crumble at the sound of the word slash, as if they were cut by an invisible sharp blade. At the same time, the enormous net that stretched out in the air began to collapse and shatter. This was Meng Hao's karma. His family, his friends, his lovers, his enemies, everything. Everyone who was connected to him by karma. Everything about him was wiped from their memories. Meng Hao, I won't rest until you're dead, roared Wang Tengfei, clenching his fists in the Wang clan garrison. Then, Yi, who's Meng Hao? Why did I just call out Meng Hao's name? Yi, whose name did I just call out? Everything about Meng Hao vanished from Wang Tengfei's heart. Meng Hao, you absolutely, positively can't die. Outside of the rebirth cave, in the Violet Fate sect garrison, tears streamed down Su Qing's face. Then, why am I crying? Meng Hao is Feng Mu? Meng Hao is Feng Mu? Her expression was complicated as she looked in the direction of the rebirth cave. Her heart was in turmoil. Then, what's wrong with me? Why do I feel so sad? What's going on? In the state of Zhao, in Yunjie County, in the Reliance sect, in the state of Zhao's cultivation world, in the various clans and sects of the southern domain, everyone who had any karma with Meng Hao had their karma severed. All traces of Meng Hao's existence would be wiped away, until the karma severed reached Li Yu. I knew it. I knew it. On a hill near the border of the Black Lands, Li Yu sat cross-legged on a boulder. In front of him was a table. Li Yu picked up his teacup and sipped his tea leisurely. With the new protecting him, The only way to kill him is to use the karma-severing technique. Liu looked up at the sky, his face full of mockery. If you can severize karma, there's nothing you can't do in this world. The formless karma saber was like the laws of the world, destroying all karma as it slashed down heavily on Liu's body. Heaven's was like a blade. This was the will of the Ji family. Then boom! The heaven's will was like a blade, but it slashed at an existence countless times stronger than the heaven's will. In the blink of an eye, the invisible blade of heaven's will was shattered into pieces. What's going on? What's going on? Patriarch Ji Fong, who was fishing on the eastern land's White Mountain, was so shocked that his face turned pale. How can there be such an existence in this world? How can there be an existence that surpasses Ji Tian? This is the Ji family sky. The word Ji meant that the word Li was written above Tian. We are the sky. How could an existence like this appear in Ji Tian's world? Patriarch Ji Fong was completely flustered. His body trembled, and cold sweat broke out on his forehead. His face was deathly pale. Failure to sever karma resulted in karma backlash. He was dead for sure. The word Li was written above Tian. I don't like the sound of that. Liu frowned unhappily. My surname is also Li. How dare you put the word I? Serves you right for suffering karma backlash. As soon as the words left his mouth, the area around Patriarch Ji Fong trembled. It was an enormous net. It was an enormous net that connected everything in the ninth mountain and sea. This was the net of karma that covered the entire ninth mountain and sea. The art of karma severing concealed a deadly danger. Severing karma would naturally result in karma backlash. Under normal circumstances, if Ji Fong severed all of karma, he would naturally be able to retract the fishing line and escape. The power of the karma backlash would not be able to find him. However, even though he had severed 99% of karma from Meng Hao, Liu's karma had blocked him, making it impossible for him to sever any further. If he couldn't sever it, then he couldn't escape. The karma backlash would result in certain death. Rumble. An invisible flame sprang up along the fishing line and then spread out to cover Ji Fong's body. Arg! A long, miserable howl could be heard as Ji Fong's entire body was covered with indescribable flames. In the blink of an eye, he was completely and utterly burned away. On the karmic line, everything related to Ji Fong had been completely burned away. Now that Ji Fong was dead, the karma he had severed from Meng Hao was restored. Outside the rebirth cave. You dare to make a move against the Ji clan? Patriarch Ji Fong won't let E. What did I just say? Rumble. A slender, jade-like hand slammed down, and all of the Ji clan members outside of the rebirth cave were wiped out. Not a single person remained. You dare to kill Meng Hao? You dare to kill Meng Hao? Your Ji clan is seeking your own destruction. Danu let out a furious roar. Her monstrous divine might shook the surrounding space violently. Senior, you asked me to save his life, and I failed to do so. I have failed you, Senior, and should kill myself to atone for my crimes. However, if the Ji clan is not exterminated, how can the hatred in my heart be appeased? You dare to kill him? Ji clan, you have no idea what kind of person you have offended. The ninth mountain and sea is about to change. Someone who could bestow the 6 Daos of reincarnation magic, who could bring back the dead from the cycle of reincarnation. How could Ji Tian possibly afford to provoke someone like that? Senior, you asked me to do something, and I failed. How am I supposed to explain myself? Danu looked up into the sky, enraged. He's not dead. Meng Hao isn't dead. Meng Hao. It was at this point that Meng Hao, who had collapsed in front of the rebirth cave, slowly rose to his feet. What just happened? Meng Hao shook his head, feeling a bit dizzy. He vaguely remembered that the Ji clan's karma magic had severed his own karma. Why am I still alive? Why am I not dead? Meng Hao, cried Su Qing. She leaped to her feet and threw her arms around Meng Hao, tears streaming down her face. Meng Hao isn't dead? Danu spun around to look at Meng Hao, alive and well. Her heart trembled, and then she suddenly understood. So that's how it is. So that's how it is. Sever karma? The G clan is trying to sever Meng Hao's karma? Ha ha, that's suicidal. Senior, do you really think the G clan can sever the karma between you and Meng Hao? The new laughed heartily, and then let out a sigh of relief. Senior, of course you knew that the G clan could sever karma, but you also knew that they couldn't. It seems I was worried for nothing. Danu smiled and shook her head. Senior, your plans are flawless. You must have anticipated something like this. I worried too much. She landed in front of Meng Hao and handed him a feather. The son of Ji has perished, and the Ji clan will not rest. I have important matters to attend to, and can't leave to protect you. This is my rock feather. Once activated, it will allow you to soar into the highest heavens. Leave the southern domain. That's right. I have no choice but to leave. Meng Hao looked up at the group from the southern domain, then turned to look in the direction of the Violet Fate sect. He bowed. Meng Hao. Su Qin looked at Meng Hao with teary eyes, unwilling to part with him. I'll be back. Meng Hao, I'll be back. He lifted the rock feather, and a wild wind sprang up. It transformed into a huge rock with wings that stretched out to the heavens. It soared up into the sky, soaring for 5,000 kilometers. Meng Hao left. His departure left a huge mystery in the hearts of the people of the southern domain. He had the protection of an immortal and was backed by a terrifyingly powerful senior. Just who was Meng Hao? Chapter 1255. Presumably, the G clan won't touch his karma lightly. Cutting off Meng Hao's karma had resulted in the death of one of the G clan patriarchs on planet South Heaven. Considering how powerful the G clan was on planet South Heaven, they wouldn't dare to act rashly. In all of the Ninth Mountain and Sea, the G clan was undoubtedly the #1 clan. However, the G clan branch on planet South Heaven couldn't be considered #1. If I want to avoid being killed by the G clan, I'll have to go deep into the Blacklands. Liu rose to his feet and looked around at the pitch-black land. He nodded. The G clan changed the heavens, leading to the war of the mountains and seas. A talisman left behind by a powerful expert caused the ashes to scatter, dyeing the land black. This is the Blacklands. Because of the aura of the talisman, the G clan's karma magic was concealed, and they couldn't find him. So, you could take your time and have fun. Turning his head to look at the sky, Liu smiled and shook his head when he saw the image of the great Peng soaring for 90,000 miles. Now that he was in the Blacklands, he was going to have a lot of fun. Of course, that had nothing to do with Liu. I'll just head to the western desert. Liu leaped off the cliff and headed in the direction of the western desert. The most famous thing about the Blacklands, other than the Blackland, was chaos. Blacklands cultivators were synonymous with slaughter and chaos. As he headed west, he saw all sorts of fighting and killing. Murder, robbery, and revenge were common occurrences. Rumble. Liu was heading toward a cultivator city in the Blacklands, where he planned to use the teleportation portal to get to the western desert. Just as he landed outside the city, he heard a massive boom up ahead. Streaks of magical radiance blotted out the sky and fiercely blasted down on the cultivator city ahead. Blacklands Palace, you dare to attack the territory of the United Nine? Do you think Saturn City is a pushover? In the city ahead, an earth-yellow spirit light rushed out and enveloped the entire city. The grand spell formation protecting the city had been activated. A wise man submits to circumstances. Tu Mao. The Blacklands Palace has the support of the Western Desert's Evil Spirit tribe. Patriarch Evil Spirit has personally come out to fight. The Blacklands Palace's unification of the Blacklands is inevitable. If you resist, only death awaits you. A black-robed old man led a group of black-robed cultivators and surrounded Saturn City with murderous intent. Beside the black-robed old man was a bare-chested, burly man with countless totem runes tattooed all over his body. Are those Western Desert cultivators? Totem power, interesting. Liu stopped in his tracks and crossed his arms to watch the show. Liu naturally knew why the Western Desert cultivators had joined forces with the Blacklands Palace to attack the Blacklands. In ancient times, the Western Desert was called the Western Sea. It was a purple Dead Sea that had lost all life and spirit energy. After the Purple Sea dried up and reseeded, the land that was revealed was the Western Desert. Countless years had passed, and the dried-up Purple Sea had once again risen. The land of the Western Desert would be submerged by the Dead Sea again. Some of the top tribes in the Western Desert had already discovered the clues and had begun to prepare for the migration of the Blacklands. There are still many years before the Dead Sea's high tide. What's the rush? Liu smiled and shook his head. He focused his attention on the Western Desert cultivators, observing the way in which their totemic power operated. Totemic arts are actually a type of divine ability. The essence of cultivation is still the path of Jean Dan's nascent soul. The foundation was still that of Jean Dan's nascent soul, but the divine abilities and magical techniques were based on totemic arts. Liu nodded. Essentially, it's also a type of demonic art. There's another one over there. Kill him. Liu had been watching the show with interest, but hadn't realized that he had already attracted disaster. Saturn City was surrounded, and naturally, some of the cultivators who weren't from Saturn City fled the city. Then the Blacklands Palace and Western Desert cultivators began to pursue them. Several of the Blacklands Palace and Western Desert cultivators noticed Liu, and without hesitation attacked him. "I'm just a bystander," said Meng Hao. "Why are you so relentless?" "Seriously." Liu shook his head, speechless. "Kill him." The characteristics of the Blacklands Palace cultivators were obvious. When they attacked, their killing intent soared to the heavens, and the stench of blood filled the air. They were vicious and would stop at nothing. Poisonous flying swords and sinister curse magic shot toward Liu. The Western Desert cultivators were different. Some of the Western Desert cultivators had the illusory image of ferocious beasts floating above their heads. They looked like wild beasts, howling as they charged toward Meng Hao. Some of them didn't move at all. Instead, they waved their hands to summon bizarre beasts, which they commanded to attack. "It's been a long time since I've fought with my own hands." Liu waved his hand, and a bronze bell appeared in his hand. This was the Imperial U-Bell that had caused so much trouble for Eccentric Song. This was the first time Liu had used the Imperial U-Bell since taking it back from him. Dong! He flicked his finger, and the sound of the bell filled the air. Vast and mighty sound waves swept out, causing a violent tremor that shattered everything in the surroundings. Flowers, plants, trees, rocks, magical items, and magical techniques were all shattered. As the sound wave vibrated out, the Blacklands Palace cultivators exploded into mists of blood. The Western Desert cultivators were only knocked unconscious. Not a single one was killed. "I'm not being merciful," said Meng Hao. "It's just that you're all excellent research subjects. I can't let you go to waste." He made a grasping motion, and 5 of the Western Desert cultivators collapsed to the ground. Liu picked them up and stored them in his storehouse. Using top-grade equipment to bully people? That's really too much. Liu shrugged. That's how you bully people with money. Back on Earth, I was also bullied by people with top-grade equipment. As for why he hadn't fought them, he wasn't stupid. He could have wiped them out with a wave of his hand, but he hadn't used any magical items. Instead, he had fought them to the death. He had fought until he bled, and then fought back. That would have been too stupid. Liu turned and found a place to sit down. He began to study the totemic power of the Western Desert cultivators. So that's how it is. Each totem represents a mutated beast that has reached the peak and become a totem. The Western Desert cultivators worship the totems and then borrow power from the totems. After some analysis, Liu quickly understood the totems of the Western Desert cultivators. The relationship between the totems and the Western Desert tribes is somewhat similar to that of the Huangtian Emperor's world. Worship with incense, and then borrow power from the totems. Liu naturally wasn't interested in this method of borrowing external power. However, if he wanted to sneak into the Western Desert to study the secret Dragoner arts and the art of creation, he would need the power of a totem to conceal his identity. I'll just be my own totem. Now that he understood the nature of the totem, Liu had plenty of ways to deal with it. Now that I've figured out what a totem is, there's no need to waste time here. Waving his hand, he tossed out the unconscious Western Desert cultivators. Liu stood up and walked towards Saturn City, where the flames of war were swirling. Passing by. I'm just passing by. I just want to borrow Saturn City's teleportation portal. You guys carry on. Don't worry about me. He swaggered towards Saturn City, ignoring the great battle ahead of him as if it didn't exist. Liu's actions caused the besieging Blacklands Palace and Western Desert cultivators to stare in shock. This guy, is he an idiot? Is there something wrong with his head? Chapter 1256. Passing by? He's definitely a lunatic. Currently, the cultivators of the Blacklands Palace and the Western Desert had joined forces to completely surround Saturn City. Up in mid-air, the spirit-severing patriarch of Saturn City, Earth Immortal, was locked in a fierce battle with the spirit-severing cultivators of the Blacklands Palace and the Western Desert tormented eccentric. The battle between the three spirit-severing experts caused the sky to darken. Down below, the siege of a city was also intense. The cultivators of Saturn City relied on the protection of the city's grand spell formation. Although they were outnumbered, they didn't show any weakness. The sky was filled with flying swords and magical items, as well as all sorts of divine abilities and magical techniques. It was like a torrential downpour. Despite the raging flames of war, a Jindan cultivator was actually passing by. He ignored the flames of war, ignored the tyrannical power of both sides, and was actually passing by. If he wasn't a lunatic, then he was definitely an idiot. Kill him. In the midst of the raging flames of war, Liu's passing by was nothing more than an unremarkable interlude. It didn't matter if he was a lunatic or an idiot. It didn't matter if he was faking it or not. Just kill him. At the edge of the battle formation was a group of Blacklands Palace cultivators, who had formed a battle formation to block Liu's path. Seeing Liu walking toward them, as if there was no one else present, the Jindan cultivator leading the group gave the order to attack without hesitation. Profound Netherworld Soul-Devouring Claw. The Jindan cultivators led 36 Foundation Establishment cultivators to form a battle formation. Spiritual power was unleashed, and everyone's power was combined to unleash a magical technique toward Liu. A cold wind screamed, and an icy, pitch-black spiritual power shot up from the battle formation. It transformed into an enormous, pitch-black ghost claw, which slashed down toward Liu's head. Die. As far as the Blacklands Palace cultivators were concerned, a trifling Jindan cultivator would be reduced to a pile of bones under the combined power of their battle formation and the attack of their divine abilities and magical techniques. However, Liu completely ignored the powerful magical attack. He didn't even blink as he continued onward, as if there was no one present. Dong! A bell rang. When the black ghost claw reached Liu's head, a bronze bell suddenly appeared. The gigantic pitch-black ghost claw heavily clawed at the bronze bell. Suddenly, it shattered. He blocked it? How is this possible? That copper bell must be a supreme treasure. Kill. Without the slightest hesitation, the Blacklands Palace cultivators launched another attack. Clang. The pitch-black ghost claw once again smashed onto the bronze bell, but it still shattered. Liu's footsteps were not obstructed at all. He did not even pause for a moment. "Excuse me, let me pass." "Excuse me." With a relaxed smile on his face, Liu didn't seem to care at all. It was as if he viewed everyone present as ants. He continued to walk forward, facing the battle formation. He didn't dodge at all. He just walked straight over. Fight! Kill him! The Jindan cultivator leading the team was both shocked and angry, and flew into a rage. However, before the third attack could be launched, the figure carrying the bronze bell came crashing down like a mountain. It was only a light touch, but the entire battle formation was blown away like fallen leaves in a gale. The dozens of cultivators in the formation were sent flying, just like that. "Oh, stop him! Kill him! Hurry up and kill him!" Liu didn't stop. He continued to walk forward without a care in the world. The battle formations in front of him were swept away like a gale, scattering them all. As he walked forward, it was as if he were parting the sea and breaking the waves. He crushed a path through the enormous battle formations surrounding Saturn City. What's going on? In the battle formations surrounding the city, the higher the cultivation base of the cultivators, the more likely they were to be placed in the front. At this moment, the Gene Dan cultivators and nascent soul cultivators in the front lines noticed the abnormality behind them. Who are those people? Are they reinforcements from Saturn City? The battle formations in the front lines were led by nascent soul cultivators, while the Gene Dan cultivators were in formation. When these people turned their heads and saw the situation behind them, they were all extremely shocked. A figure wearing a green robe with a bronze bell on his head walked forward leisurely, as if he was taking a leisurely stroll in the courtyard. His bearing was neat and elegant. Around him, the battle formations formed by countless Foundation establishment cultivators roared and smashed out powerful divine abilities and Dharma spells. The densely packed Dharma spells fell from the sky like a torrential rain, almost drowning this figure. However, these powerful Dharma spells had no effect at all when they hit the figure in the green robe. The figure with the bronze bell on his head completely ignored these attacks and walked forward unscrupulously. As he moved forward, all the battle formations in front of him collapsed and were sent flying. It was as if a huge mountain was crushing everything in its path. It was unstoppable. A mere Gene Dan cultivator is actually so powerful. That bronze bell, what kind of treasure is it? I don't care. Kill him. No matter how powerful a Dharma treasure was, one needed to have enough strength to drive it. No matter how powerful a Gene Dan cultivator's Dharma treasure was, it was already amazing that he could block a Foundation establishment battle formation. The battle formations in front were all led by nascent soul cultivators and formed by Gene Dan cultivators. With the power of a nascent soul combined with the power of a battle formation, death was the only way out for you no matter how powerful your Dharma treasure was. Boom! The nascent soul cultivators activated the power of the battle formation and released endless divine power. A cold and pitch-black sword chi tore through the sky and slashed down on Liu's head. Clang! The sword chi slashed on the bronze bell and let out a loud chime. The sword chi that he had placed such high hopes on was suddenly shattered. As for the figure in the green robe, he did not even stop in his tracks and continued to move forward. Boom! The battle formations led by the nascent soul cultivators and formed by the Gene Dan cultivators were destroyed and sent flying by the figure in the green robe. He did not stop and was unstoppable, collapsing battle formations one by one and sending them flying. Withstanding the spells that covered the sky, the green-robed figure flew forward as if there was no one else around. That's... The three spirit-severing experts fighting in midair also noticed what was happening below. Old Geezer 2 Mao, you actually invited reinforcements? Wait a second. He's only in the Gene Dan stage. What kind of Dharma treasure is that? How could it be so powerful? The spirit-severing cultivator from the Blacklands Palace turned his head to look down at the scene below, his heart filled with shock. What a powerful Dharma treasure. However, this is as far as you go. With a wave of his hand, a white bone pagoda flew out of his hand and smashed down heavily on Liu. This was a true spirit-severing treasure, a true spirit-severing attack. In order to stabilize the situation, the spirit-severing cultivator from the Blacklands Palace used his spirit-severing treasure to unleash his most powerful attack. Boom! It was as if heaven and earth were collapsing. The enormous pagoda of bones descended from the sky, seemingly on the verge of shattering the very air itself. Patriarch White Bones is attacking. That kid is dead for sure. When they saw this attack, the cultivators who had been tormented miserably by Liu began to cry out. And yet, a massive boom could be heard as the spirit-severing treasure, the pagoda of bones, slammed into the bronze bell with the fury of the spirit-severing expert. Unexpectedly, Crunch. The spirit-severing treasure, the pagoda of bones, was actually smashed into pieces. How is this possible? Just what kind of precious treasure is that bronze bell? Seeing this scene, everyone on the battlefield was scared silly. Excuse me. Pass. Pass. Liyu's face was all smiles as he strode forward, passing through the encirclement of Saturn City. Chapter 12:57. Who are you? Asked Patriarch Whitebones, a spirit-severing cultivator from the Blacklands Palace. When he saw his spirit-severing precious treasure being destroyed, he was filled with shock, anger, and fear. In this situation, if anyone still thought that Li Yu was just a golden core cultivator, then they would be too ignorant. This senior's cultivation base is too high. We couldn't even tell. We mistook him for a core formation cultivator. Sir, this is an old enmity between the Blacklands Palace and Saturn City. Please don't interfere. Patriarch Whitebones from the Blacklands Palace immediately called out to Li Yu. Senior, the Blacklands Palace colluded with the Western Desert Barbarians and caused chaos in the Blacklands. Senior, please uphold justice. Now that his savior was right in front of him, Tumu the Vagabond hurriedly called out to Li Yu. I'm sorry. Li Yu smiled and shook his head. I was just passing by. I came to Saturn City to use the teleportation portal. Don't worry about me. Just do as you please. His words caused everyone present to be scared silly. Could it be that he really was just passing by? Who would be passing by after witnessing such a huge battle? You overturned countless battle formations and even destroyed a spirit-severing precious treasure just because you were passing by? The cultivators from the Blacklands Palace and the Western Desert suddenly felt like they were about to cough up blood and die. Because you were passing by, you knocked over everything in your path. This method of doing things is too. All right, I don't even know how to describe it. You want to use the teleportation portal? You want to use Saturn City's teleportation portal? Tumu the Vagabond rolled his eyes, then gritted his teeth and made a decision. Senior, as long as you help Saturn City overcome this tribulation, we'll let you use our teleportation portal. Upon hearing Tumu the Vagabond's words, Patriarch Whitebones and Patriarch Evil Spirit's hearts trembled. They immediately retreated several hundred meters away. Just because the city's battle formations were in the way, this senior had knocked them over. You dare to threaten him? I hope you don't die too miserably. Senior, considering your abilities, this is as easy as lifting a finger. Senior, please be merciful and help Saturn City get through this calamity. How could Tumao not know that this was extremely dangerous? But if he didn't do that, he would be in even more danger. Interesting. Liu looked up at Tumao, Sanran, and laughed. I don't know anyone, Karma. If you don't threaten me, then immediately open up the teleportation array for me to use. For the sake of borrowing the teleportation formation, I really have to help you. With a wave of his hand, the bronze bell floated into his hand. Liu shook his head. Now, I don't know you anything. This, Tumao Sanran's eyes flashed with a trace of regret, and then his face became ferocious. Since you're in such a hurry, you must have something important to do. I presume you don't want to waste time? If you don't make a move, this old man will immediately destroy the teleportation array. AI. Blacklands cultivators are used to fighting and scheming against each other. They don't even know how to handle things properly. Liu shook his head. I's already here. Do you really think you can destroy the teleportation array just because you want to? Then let's break it off. Tumao Sanran's face was twisted with madness. In any case, the Blacklands Palace and the Western Desert cultivators are besieging me. I won't be able to escape this calamity. Since I'm going to die, you won't have it easy either. This was a Blacklands cultivator. In the chaotic Blacklands, which spirit-severing cultivator wasn't vicious and merciless. Their hearts were dark to the extreme. Tumao Sanran raised his hand and slapped down at the teleportation array. Dong! Liu flicked his finger, and a mighty bell rang out. The sound reverberated through the 9 heavens and shook the surrounding wilderness. The sound waves swept out, and Mouse Samron's body froze. He fell from the sky. The sound waves didn't stop and continued to sweep out in the direction of Saturn City. Crack! The barrier of light above Saturn City instantly shattered and dissipated. The intense sound waves swept through all of Saturn City. Everyone in the city, even living creatures, were swept up by the sound waves and toppled to the ground. In order to prevent anyone else from destroying the teleportation array, I had no choice but to kill all of you. Liu shook his head helplessly. They were just passing by. Why were they so unreasonable? Gasp! He destroyed Saturn City with one blow? How terrifying! Because of a single disagreement, he wiped out the entire Saturn City. What a ferocious and terrifying old devil. The Blacklands Palace and Western Desert cultivators were so frightened by Li Yu's attack that they began to tremble. Thankfully, he only sent us flying. If he had done the same thing to us, the consequences. Sweat poured down like rain. The entire battlefield was deathly silent. The Blacklands Palace and Western Desert cultivators bowed their heads, not even daring to breathe loudly. I can't be any fairer. Liu turned his head to look at the cultivators from the Blacklands Palace and the Western Desert. A strange smile appeared on his face. I'm sorry that I interfered in your battle. No, Senior, please don't take it to heart. When Patriarch Whitebones heard Liu's words, he began to tremble. He felt as if these words were filled with malice, and immediately bowed in respect. I'm just too soft-hearted. If I do something that harms others, I'll definitely think of a way to make up for it. Liu glanced at Saturn City and chuckled. I defeated them with one blow. That's really unfair. Therefore, no, shrieked Patriarch Whitebones, then turned to flee. Gong! Another bell tolled, and the sound waves swept out in all directions. Bang, bang, bang. Outside of Saturn City, all of the Blacklands Palace cultivators and Western Desert cultivators were hit by the sound waves and toppled to the ground. Even the Whitebones Patriarch and the Western Desert Tormented Spirit Patriarch, who were fleeing in panic, were shaken by the sound waves and fell from the sky. Now it's fair. With a strange smile, Liu put away the Emperor Yubel, then turned and stepped into Saturn City's teleportation portal. Teleportation light flashed, and Liu vanished without a trace. The only thing that remained was the deathly silence of Saturn City. I'm not dead yet. The next morning, everyone in Saturn City, the Blacklands Palace, and the Western Desert all woke up at the same time. Not a single one had died. Inside and outside of the city, everything was exactly the same as it had been before Liu had arrived. Other than the fact that everyone had been knocked out for an entire day, nothing had changed. Fair? Make up for it. That's what he meant by fair. That's what he meant by making up for it. As of this moment, the two warring sides exchanged dismayed glances. The war raged on. 3 days later, the Blacklands Palace and the Western Desert cultivators broke into Saturn City. Tumulus cultivator perished, and Saturn City surrendered. This battle shook all of the Blacklands and opened the curtains to the chaos that would soon follow. At the same time, a legend began to spread throughout the Blacklands about the old Devil Golden Bell. According to the legend, he was ferocious to the extreme, terrifying to the extreme, a peerless devil who left people speechless. He didn't kill people, but he loved toying with people until they were half dead, toying with people until they couldn't even beg for death. I wasn't just toying with you. Far off in the Blacklands, Liu looked at the totem tattoo of a golden bell on the back of his hand, his face filled with a smile. If this isn't brotherly, I wouldn't believe it even if you beat me to death. After arriving in the Blacklands and hearing the strange legend, he immediately knew who old Devil Golden Bell was. Chapter 1258. Seriously, I'm not playing around. On the border between the Blacklands and the Western Desert, outside of the majestic South Cleaving Pass, Liu's right hand had a golden, bell-shaped magical symbol on it. This was a totem. This was the totem Liu had created. With this totem, Liu would be able to integrate himself into the Western Desert and study the magic of good fortune. Totems require incense offerings and people to worship them. They can't be used just by putting a mark on them. Liu lifted his right hand, looking at the golden bell totem on the back of his hand. His face was full of smiles. Why must I worship them? Fear is the same. In the Wildlands era, the first totem spirits were not born out of worship, but out of fear and reverence. This was the reason why Liu had been playing around in the Blacklands. The name Devil Golden Bell had spread far and wide in the Blacklands. This was fear, and this was reverence. Using this fear and reverence, Liu transformed the Emperor Yu's bell into a totem, branding it onto the back of his hand. In this way, Liu's body emanated a unique totemic aura of the Western Desert. Anyone who saw him would think that he was a Western Desert totemic cultivator. He swaggered into South Cleaving Pass, where totemic cultivators from various tribes of the Western Desert were coming and going. Now I need to find a tribe to join with. In order to study the secret Dragoner arts and the Tao of good fortune, he needed all sorts of experimental materials. Liu couldn't rely on himself to catch strange beasts and gather medicinal plants. He needed a large tribe to provide him with the materials. The Golden Roar tribe is in big trouble this time. Yeah, I heard about it. During their tribe's Dragoner trial, they actually ran into the devilish Ichinzi, who had killed dozens of Dragoners who had participated in the trial. What a tragedy! After wandering around South Cleaving Pass for a while, Liu finally heard some useful news. Golden Roar tribe? Dozens of Dragoners died. Liu's eyes lit up as he found a target to join. Although the Golden Roar tribe wasn't one of the top tribes in the Western Desert, it was still a medium-sized tribe. Dragoners were a crucial part of a tribe's fighting strength. Since dozens of Dragoners had died, the Golden Roar tribe naturally needed to recruit more. The various tribes of the Western Desert were constantly at war with each other. Naturally, there would be some Dragoners who had been wiped out. This kind of Dragoner was welcomed everywhere. Then let's go and join the Golden Roar tribe. After asking around in the city, Liu quickly found the Golden Roar tribe's stronghold in South Broken City. It was a shop. A flag was erected in front of the shop. On the flag, a giant golden beast roared to the sky. This was the station of Golden Roar clan in South Cleaving Pass. In the Blacklands, and even in the Southern Domain, some of the Western Desert's specialty minerals and medicinal ingredients were very popular. South Cleaving Pass City had also become a bustling border bazaar. Sir, what would you like to order? Liu walked into the Golden Roar Division shop. A Western Desert girl welcomed him with a smile. I'm a Dragoner. At the moment, Liu had already changed his clothes. He was no longer wearing a scholarly robe, but a black cloak that covered his entire body. His cloak covered his face, and his deep and cold voice revealed an arrogance that made people feel intimidated at first glance. So it's Lord Dragoner. The Western Desert girl's heart tightened. She hurriedly bowed and said, Sir, Lord Time Mu of the Golden Roar tribe is here. Please follow me. Regardless of the purpose of this Dragoner's visit, it wasn't something the girl could handle. She could only lead Liu into the backyard. Lord Time Mu, a Dragoner has come to visit. After arriving at the backyard, the Western Desert girl bowed and reported in front of a black stone gate. Dragoner, come in. A rough voice came from inside the black stone gate. Lord Dragoner, Lord Time Mu is inside. Please come in. The Western Desert girl gestured, then bowed and left. Perhaps because Lord Time Mu didn't come in person, the figure in the black cloak let out a cold snort and stepped into the black stone gate. Roar! As soon as he entered the gate, the ground of the gate churned. A 10-jong-long beast covered in thick black scales, with claws as sharp as swords and fangs as daggers, suddenly rushed out from the ground. A show of strength? Or a test? Seeing this huge beast rushing out from the ground, Liu sneered. You want to test me with this thing? Liu didn't move. He didn't even raise his head. He just stood there in the yard, as if he didn't care about this ferocious beast at all. Although my cultivation has been sealed, my body is still very frightening. Apart from the innate saint body, I also fused with an ancestral dragon. I even pretended to be the Dragon Emperor back then. Liu sneered and released a trace of dragon chi. How could such a beast withstand the aura of the dragon progenitor? Woo-woo. Sensing the aura of the dragon progenitor, the pangolin mutated beast shuddered in fear. It wailed and curled up on the ground, trembling. Ha ha! Please forgive me. Please forgive me. A coarse laugh came from the room in the courtyard. A tall and strong man, who looked like a black iron tower, walked out while laughing. Your Dragoner secret technique is indeed extraordinary. I, Taimu, admire you. The dark man walked forward and cupped his hands. I just tested you. Please forgive me. No problem. Liu replied coldly and arrogantly. I am a Dragoner whose tribe was destroyed, and I have been wandering the world. I am here to seek refuge with the Golden Roar tribe. Ha! Welcome. You are extremely welcome. Taimu laughed and nodded. Your Excellency is very talented. It is an honor for my Golden Roar tribe to have you join us. At this point, Taimu raised his head and looked at Liu. It's just that. I wonder what your name is and where you're from. Although the Golden Roar tribe was recruiting Dragoners, they couldn't just accept anyone. The past is unbearable. My name has long been forgotten. Liu pulled up his right sleeve, revealing a golden bell totem. I am from the Golden Bell tribe. My tribe was destroyed many years ago. All these years, I've been traveling the world under the name of Golden Bell. Golden Bell tribe? Traveling the world under the name of Golden Bell? Taimu furrowed his brows as he pondered. He had never heard of the Golden Bell tribe. However, there were countless small tribes like this in the Western Desert. It wasn't strange that he didn't know. But if he traveled the world under the name of Golden Bell, why hadn't he heard of a Dragoner named Golden Bell? Huh? Golden Bell? Old Devil Golden Bell? Taimu looked at Liu in shock. You have been to Blacklands all these years. You have never returned to the Western Desert? The legends of the old Devil Golden Bell in the Blacklands had spread to the southern Cleaving Pass. In fact, many people didn't really believe in this terrifying old devil. But this old Devil Golden Bell had appeared in front of them. So the old Devil Golden Bell, who terrorized the Blacklands, was actually a Dragoner of the Western Desert? Yes, I haven't been back for many years. The chaos in the Blacklands affected my research on the methods of cultivating strange beasts. Therefore, I had no choice but to return to the Western Desert. Liu's voice carried a sense of vicissitudes. He looked up at Taimu. Your Golden Roar tribe needs Dragoners. I also need a place to cultivate strange beasts. If you agree, just say the word. If you don't, I'll go somewhere else. Yes, yes, yes. Taimu repeatedly agreed. If this person was really the old Devil Golden Bell, then it was simply impossible to obtain. However, whether or not he was the old Devil Golden Bell required further confirmation. Chapter 1259. You recruited a Grand Dragoner. In the Golden Roar tribe's encampment, the Golden Roar tribe chief was shocked after hearing Taimu's report. A Grand Dragoner? A Grand Dragoner has joined us. How is this possible? A Grand Dragoner had a high status in the Western Desert, on par with the tribe chief. Such a person would be welcomed wherever he went. How could it be the Golden Roar tribe's turn? This person has been cultivating in the Blacklands. He has an illustrious name in the Blacklands, Old Devil Golden Bell. It is said that he came from the Golden Bell tribe. After the tribe was destroyed, he left the Western Desert and has been cultivating in the Blacklands. Taimu continued. He must be a Grand Dragoner. I used the Golden Shell Beast to test him. He didn't even move. He only released his aura, and the Golden Shell Beast was scared stiff. Apart from a Grand Dragoner, who else has this ability? Is that so? If it is true, then our Golden Roar tribe has picked up a treasure. However, we can't be careless. We need to observe carefully. The Golden Roar tribe chief nodded. Take him back to the tribe. If he really is a Grand Dragoner, as long as he doesn't have any evil intentions, the Golden Roar tribe will welcome him. Yes. Taimu bowed and hung up the transmission. Golden Bell tribe? This name Where have I heard it before? The Golden Roar tribe chief put down the transmission talisman and frowned in deep thought. South Cleaving Pass. The next morning, Liu, Tai Mu, and the others stepped out of the South Cleaving Pass and walked towards the western desert. The South Cleaving Pass was high. The closer they were to the western desert, the lower the terrain became. At first glance, the western desert looked like a huge crater. The western desert is the western sea. Standing on the airship and looking at the crater below, Liu sighed and shook his head. The purple sea is about to rise. This land, full of vitality, will soon become a land of death. The Golden Roar tribe was a medium-sized tribe after all. They naturally didn't lack flying artifacts. They flew through the vast western desert and rushed towards the Golden Roar tribe's encampment. After half a month of traveling hundreds of thousands of li, they were not far from the Golden Roar tribe's encampment. Boom! At this time, a warship suddenly rushed out from behind a towering mountain in front of them. The large flag fluttered in the wind, and on the pitch-black flag, there was a blood-red giant axe bursting with bloody light. Rows of ferocious warriors with huge axes stood on the huge battleship. Thousands of winged beasts roared and circled around the warship. Ha ha ha! Golden Roar Division. I knew you would return from here. I have been waiting for you for a long time. On the Blood Axe battleship, a muscular man wearing a blood-red robe and holding a blood-red axe pointed at the Golden Roar tribe's flying boat and laughed crazily. Blood Axe Division. Venerable Blood Axe. Seeing the Blood Axe battleship in front of them, Tai Mu exclaimed in shock. His face turned pale as he looked at Liu anxiously. Master Jin Zhong, this is the Blood Axe tribe, the archenemy of our Golden Roar tribe. Lord Blood Axe was a spirit-severing eccentric. It's over. It's over. We're dead. Blood Axe Division? Liu turned his head and glanced at Tai Mu. His eyes emitted a cold light, which made Tai Mu's heart clench, as if he had fallen into an ice cellar. Next time, don't play such tricks. Be careful not to throw your life away. After coldly glancing at Tai Mu, Liu flicked his sleeves, stepped out of the cabin, and stepped onto the deck of the flying boat. Master Jin Zhong, under Liu's gaze, Tai Mu trembled and broke out in cold sweat. His face was full of shock, and he wanted to cry, but had no tears. Although I wanted to test your strength, but I didn't know we would run into Venerable Blood Axe. Wiping his cold sweat, Tai Mu followed Liu out of the cabin in a panic. Master Jin Zhong, what do we do? What do we do? Tai Mu trembled when he saw the Blood Axe tribe's battleship filled with murderous aura, especially the spirit-severing eccentric Venerable Blood Axe. Grand Dragoners were most powerful in their ability to control thousands of beasts in battle. Above the battle formation was the place where Grand Dragoners could roam freely. Grand Dragoners were never good at fighting one-on-one. When faced with a spirit-severing eccentric like Venerable Blood Axe, even Grand Dragoners had no way to deal with him. They're just a bunch of ants, said Meng Hao coolly. His figure, shrouded in a black cloak, was as aloof and cold as ever. The words he spoke were enough to scare anyone half to death. Huh? Tai Mu stared in shock. Spirit-severing eccentrics are ants? Master Jin Zhong, aren't you going a bit too far? I've always been in the Blacklands. I'm Devil Jin Zhong. Liu looked coolly at Tai Mu, then slowly lifted his right hand. Blacklands? Devil Jin Zhong? Tai Mu gaped for a moment, then understood. The Blacklands were not the Western Desert. No one cared if you were a Grand Dragoner or not, and no one would play with you in battle formations. Everything was done with the goal of killing your opponent. To be able to become Devil Jin Zhong in the Blacklands, to be able to make Blacklands cultivators tremble at the mere mention of his name, Master Jin Zhong was obviously not just a Grand Dragoner. Scram or die. Meng Hao pointed at the Blood Axe tribe's warship. His aloof and cold voice was filled with boundless coldness, making people feel as if they had fallen into an ice cellar. Hearing this, Reverend Blood Axe's eyebrows twitched. Then he laughed in anger. Someone actually dares to speak to me like that? Blood Axe, rivers of blood flowed. How dare you ignore the infamous name of the Blood Axe tribe? Raising the blood-colored axe high in the air, Reverend Blood Axe roared, "Boys, kill them. Tear their flesh to shreds and torment their souls. Let them howl eternally in the blood god totem. Kill." One after another, blood-colored figures shot out from the warship, brandishing blood-colored axes as they charged toward the Golden Roar tribe's airship. "You're courting death." With a cold snort, Liu lifted his right hand and waved it. Rumble. Golden splendor filled the sky as a brilliant golden bell shot out from the back of Liu's hand and hung high in the air. Dong! A mighty bell chime resounded, shaking the heavens and the earth. The mighty sound waves swept out, shattering everything in front of them. First, the warriors of the Blood Axe tribe charged toward them. Shaken by the sound waves, they exploded into bloody mists one by one. Then, the winged beasts of the Blood Axe tribe also turned into bloody mists in the sound waves. Finally, the entire Blood Axe warship, along with Reverend Blood Axe on it, was shattered into pieces. With one strike, Reverend Blood Axe, a spirit-severing expert, and thousands of Blood Axe warriors, along with the Blood Axe warship, were all shattered into pieces. Lord Golden Bell is invincible. Tai Mu was so scared that his whole body trembled. Then he fell to his knees with a plop. Humph! With a cold snort, Liu swung his sleeves and turned around to step into the cabin. Since he was the old devil Golden Bell, he had to act like a ferocious and terrifying old devil. With this deterrence, the Golden Roar tribe wouldn't dare to play any tricks. The rest of the journey was very smooth. A few days later, a huge lake appeared in front of everyone. Beside the lake was a vast land with towering mountains, verdant and full of vitality. This was the Golden Roar tribe's encampment. Lord Golden Bell, we've arrived. The airship landed on a huge mountain beside the lake. At the top of the mountain was a huge black stone hall. At this moment, the square in front of the hall was full of Golden Roar tribe members. "Welcome, Grand Dragoner Golden Bell." Stepping out of the airship, all the Golden Roar tribe members on the square bowed to Liu. Old Devil Golden Bell's ferocious power had scared the Golden Roar tribe members silly. They could only wait obediently for fear that another bell chime would shatter everything in the Golden Roar tribe. Chapter 1260. It's easy to invite a god, but difficult to send him away. After the welcoming ceremony, the Golden Roar tribe leader, Patriarch Everlasting Gold, could only sigh helplessly as he watched the black-cloaked figure unceremoniously occupy the spiritual beast island on the Golden Lake. Even though he was a spirit-severing cultivator, he didn't dare to say a word. Patriarch Everlasting Gold didn't want to follow in the footsteps of Venerable Blood Axe. A bad life is better than a good death. He wouldn't do anything that would lead to death. At least with such a terrifying figure here, no one will dare to provoke our Golden Roar tribe. After comforting himself, Patriarch Everlasting Gold raised the flag. The Golden Bell Grand Dragoner has killed Venerable Blood Axe. Boys, follow me to destroy the Blood Axe tribe. Kill! 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 The warships soared into the sky. Patriarch Everlasting Gold led a group of warriors and charged toward the Blood Axe tribe's encampment. The Golden Bell Grand Dragoner came with such a big gift. As long as they served such a person well, they would definitely receive endless benefits. Although it was a bit shameful to be so humble, but in a place like the Western Desert where the tribes were constantly at war, how could face be more important than their lives? You're quite tactful. Seeing that the Golden Roar tribe didn't have any objections to him occupying the spiritual beast island, Liu nodded. As long as it doesn't affect my research, I don't mind letting you get some benefits. Researching the method of cultivating strange beasts and researching the Tao of creation would naturally lead to many products, which are the strange beasts Liu had created. These strange beasts naturally needed to be tested. The Golden Roar tribe's strength would definitely increase greatly with these test subjects. Of course, if there were any accidents, Liu wouldn't be responsible. You're weak and can't control my strange beasts. yet you still have the face to come to me? Greetings to the Golden Bell Grand Dragowner. On the spiritual beast island, apart from the various spirit beasts, there are also dragowners in charge of managing and cultivating these spirit beasts. Liu took over the spiritual beast island. Naturally, the Golden Roar tribe dragowners on the island could only submit to him. He killed venerable Blood Axe and thousands of Blood Axe tribe warriors with one strike. The Golden Bell Grand Dragowner's illustrious reputation, or rather, his ferocious reputation, no one dared to provoke him. You may leave. Liu waved his hand and dismissed the Golden Roar Division's dragowners. Liu had come here to study the secret skills of dragowners. How could he be in the mood to be in charge? Why would he play a power game? He didn't even bother to say anything else and directly sent him away. This caused the Golden Roar tribe's dragowners to let out a sigh of relief. Lord Golden Bell, I am Jin Zhu. I am here to serve Lord Golden Bell on the orders of the Patriarch. The group of dragowners retreated, leaving behind a young woman from the Golden Roar tribe. She timidly stood in front of Liu. Why would I need? Where is the Golden Roar tribe's secret dragowner skill? Bring me there for a look. Just as Liu was about to kick this golden pearl and silver pearl out, he suddenly remembered that he was new here and was not familiar with anything. It was quite appropriate to have someone who was familiar with the situation to order him around. Yes, Jinju hurriedly bowed and accepted the order. Spirit Beast Island was the place where the Golden Roar tribe's dragowners cultivated. Naturally, the secret dragowner skill was also stored here. Jinju led Liu into the main hall of Spirit Beast Island and arrived at a huge library in the rear hall. Lord Golden Bell, this is the secret dragowner skill left behind by our Golden Roar tribe's dragowners. Jinju bowed and reported while pointing at the library in front of them. Brew a pot of tea for this old man. After giving the order, Liu no longer paid attention to Jinju and walked into the library. He began to flip through the experimental records left behind by the Golden Roar tribe's dragowners. Cultivating strange beasts was really similar to a biochemical experiment. Liu discovered experiments such as stitched monsters, heterogeneous hybridization, metal modification, and so on. Just looking at them would make one's hair stand on end. The orthodox secret dragowner skill is to use medicinal pills, talismans, arrays, and other methods to nourish strange beasts with spiritual energy for a long period of time. This will strengthen the strange beasts and even cause them to mutate. This method was very orthodox. Most dragowners use this method to cultivate strange beasts. However, this method required the strange beasts to mutate and evolve. Not only was the effect slow, but the direction of the mutation was also completely uncontrollable. If I were to use this method, then the righteous bestowal art of the Demon Sealer clan would naturally be the most suitable. Righteous bestowal art of demonic chi can turn strange beasts into monsters. Evolution and mutation are inevitable. Liu had already taken a look at the Demon Sealing Jade. Naturally, Liu had also collected a copy of the Demon Sealing Jade. If Liu wanted to use the righteous bestowal art, it wouldn't be difficult. However, what Liu wanted to study was the nature of creation, not to mutate strange beasts. Let's read first. By studying and cultivating strange beasts through the secret dragowner skill, one could understand the nature of mutation and evolution. Just like the Tao of pills, one could understand the nature of plants and trees and understand the Tao of creation. Liu planned to study the secret dragowner skill, just like he did with the Tao of pills. Time passed day after day as Liu read. For an entire month, the Golden Bell Grand Dragowner immersed himself in reading. He didn't even take a step out of the door. Jinju, what book has the Grand Dragowner been reading for the past 2 days? The Golden Bell Grand Dragowner, who was completely focused on reading, didn't seem as ferocious and terrifying as the rumors made him out to be. This caused the Dragowner cultivators of Spirit Beast Island to gradually become more courageous. Lord Inchi, the Grand Dragowner, is reading the 8 techniques of taming beasts today. What book Liu was reading wasn't a secret, So Jinju naturally answered truthfully. 8 techniques of taming beasts? Isn't that the introductory Dragoner skill? Hearing Jinju's answer, the Dragoners all looked at each other in dismay. Why would the Golden Bell Grand Dragoner read a book that only acolytes read? Could it be that he wasn't a Dragoner? He didn't understand the secret Dragoner skill? Perhaps the Grand Dragoner is studying the 8 techniques of taming beasts and plans to improve it. Inchi's Dragoner laughed and changed the topic, chatting with the crowd. The Golden Bell Grand Dragoner was a terrifying figure who had killed the venerable Blood Axe with a single strike. Even if he wasn't a Dragoner, he wasn't someone we could provoke. The Dragoner's mark uses the power of runes to imprint on the soul of a strange beast and control it. Naturally, there isn't much to study. Liu tossed the 8 techniques of taming beasts aside and stood up. I've finished reading the book and have a clear understanding of the secret Dragoner skill. Now I can begin my research. According to Earth's theory, all information about a species is engraved in their genes. It's similar to the medicinal properties of plants. If I want to do experiments, I must first study the characteristics of strange beasts. Stepping out of the library, Liu planned to study the bloodline characteristics of the strange beasts on Spirit Beast Island. In order to study bloodline characteristics, he naturally needed to collect the bloodlines of various spirit beasts. Liu naturally wouldn't personally do such a chore of collecting specimens. Weren't the Dragoners of Spirit Beast Island supposed to be ordered around? Jinju, notify all the Dragoners of Spirit Beast Island and have them collect a portion of each spirit beast blood and send it to me. After leaving the library, Liu walked into Spirit Beast Island's Dragoner Hall and instructed Jinju. Yes, Jinju, who was guarding the Dragoner Hall, hastily accepted the order and hurriedly left. After leaving for a moment, Jinju was suddenly turned back and reported to Liu. Sir, Inchi's Dragoner requests an audience. He says he wishes to consult the Grand Dragoner on the secret Dragoner skill. Liu raised his eyebrows. Consult the secret Dragoner skill? How interesting. I've already killed the venerable Blood Axe, and he still dares to come provoke me? Liu raised his eyes and looked outside the hall. A trace of a sneer appeared on the corner of his mouth. The Golden Roar tribe. Someone probably had some thoughts they shouldn't have. But what gave them the courage? Chapter 1261. Let him in. Liu also wanted to see what the Golden Roar tribe was up to. He sat down in the Dragoner Hall and waved his hand, ordering Jinju to summon that Inchi Dragoner. Greetings, Grand Dragoner. Inchi walked into the Dragoner Hall and bowed to Liu. Rise. Liu waved his hand and spoke in a cold tone, still acting like an old devil. Why have you come to see me? Grand Dragoner. Inchi's posture was very humble and respectful, at least on the surface. After all, old Demon Golden Bell wasn't someone easy to talk to. Didn't he see that venerable Sanguine Axe's bones had already turned to dust? If he wasn't confident, Inchi Dragoner wouldn't have dared to do something so suicidal. Grand Dragoner, before your arrival, our Golden Roar tribe didn't have a Grand Dragoner. You've been in the Dragoner Hall for more than a month. We Dragoners have been looking forward to hearing your teachings for a long time. Inchi spoke eloquently and put on an expression as if he was asking for advice. Grand Dragoner, are you free now? Can you give us a few pointers so that we Dragoners can broaden our horizons and see what a Grand Dragoner is capable of? Oh, Liu glanced at Inchi with a cold expression, the corners of his mouth curling into a cold smile. It seems this is a provocation. They dare to provoke me? There are actually people who dare to challenge my authority? Even killing venerable Sanguine Axe didn't deter them? What kind of trump card do they have? I like to see what you're capable of. At worst, I'll just release the seal. In this world, even Luo Tian has been played to a pulp. Who can threaten me? Liu was full of confidence. Why would he care about any schemes? In the face of absolute power, all schemes were useless. Very well. Nodding slightly, Liu rose to his feet. It just so happens that I have some matters for you to do as well. Let's gather everyone. Reporting to the Grand Dragoner, the disciples of the Dragonor Hall are already waiting outside the Great Hall. They are eagerly awaiting your guidance. Inshi's reply was still very respectful, but his heart was somewhat bewildered. Didn't the tribe leader say that he wasn't a Dragonor? Didn't they say that they had already figured out his background? Why was he still so calm? Grand Dragonor, please. Unable to figure out the reason, Inshi felt that this Golden Bell old demon was probably just hanging on for dear life. He wouldn't be able to produce anything at all. Lead the way. With a wave of his hand, Liu ordered Inshi around as if he was a servant. I'll teach you a lesson later. This time, the old patriarch has already made preparations. No matter how high your cultivation is, you can only bow your head and submit. Inshi's heart was filled with hatred, but he didn't show it on his face. He obediently led Liu out of the Dragonor Hall. Greetings, Grand Dragonor. The square below the stairs of the main hall was filled with Golden Roar tribe's Dragonors. There were at least 1,000 of them. Seeing Liu come out, everyone bowed and greeted him. Rise. Standing on the high platform in front of the Dragonor Hall, Liu casually waved his hand. He still looked like an aloof and cold old devil. Since you're all here, it's good that I have something for you to do. Ignoring the so-called guidance and the fact that this was a premeditated provocation, Liu directly put on the airs of a Grand Dragonor and issued an order. Within 3 days, collect a portion of the blood of all the strange beasts on Spirit Beast Island and send it to the Dragonor Hall. Once these words were spoken, the square fell into silence. That's not right, is it? Isn't he here to guide the secret Dragonor technique? Isn't he here to show off the Grand Dragonor's remarkable abilities? How did he end up assigning tasks to us? Cough, cough. Grand Dragonor, shouldn't you give us some guidance on the secret Dragonor technique and broaden our horizons? At this moment, Inshi, who had started the trouble, had no choice but to step forward. Liu frowned and slightly released a trace of the power of the Emperor Yu's bell. A boundless pressure came crashing down, as if the sky was collapsing and the earth was sinking. It was as if the entire sky was pressing down on everyone's heads. This enormous and boundless pressure caused the Dragonors below the platform to lose their footing and fall to their knees with a plop. Everyone was so scared that their faces turned pale and cold sweat broke out all over their bodies. At this moment, the horrifying image of old Devil Golden Bell killing venerable Blood Axe and wiping out thousands of Blood Axe warriors with one strike once again appeared in everyone's minds. Grand Dragonor, please calm down. Grand Dragonor, please calm down. We accept the order. Within 3 days, the blood of all the strange beasts on Spirit Beast Island will be sent to the Dragonor Hall on time. With the threat of death right in front of them, no one cared about Inshi's previous greetings. Even if the clan leader is confident in taking care of old Devil Golden Bell, our lives are now in his hands. We can just join the fun. If you want us to directly go against old Devil Golden Bell and court death, that won't do. Just a simple was enough for everyone to submit. They didn't even dare to breathe loudly. This so-called provocation simply couldn't go on. Grand Dragonor, please guide us in our Dragonor secret arts. Please let us see the Grand Dragonor's methods. Since they had already offended old Devil Golden Bell, Inshi could only follow this path to the end and place his hopes on the clan leader's preparations. You want to see this seat's Dragonor secret arts? Liu glanced at Inshi and revealed a cruel sneer on his cold and aloof face. Very well. Since you want to see it, this seat will naturally fulfill your wish and broaden your horizons. With a wave of his sleeve, he withdrew a wisp of the Emperor Yu's bell's aura and withdrew the enormous pressure above everyone's heads. Dragonors control strange beasts. This is the most basic and also the most important method. Now, I'll show you how a Grand Dragonor manipulates and controls strange beasts. With a wave of his sleeve, Liu stood with his hands behind his back. Make your move. Let out your strange beasts. Let this seat show you what it means to control strange beasts. All right, please enlighten me, Grand Dragonor. Since the clan leader had said that he was confident in suppressing old Devil Golden Bell, Shi could only place his hopes on the clan leader's confidence. Shi cupped his hands in salute and then released a group of strange beasts from the beast-taming hoop with a wave of his sleeve. 10 gigantic creatures covered in golden scales lined up in front of Shi like giant pangolins. Their fangs were as sharp as daggers, their claws were as sharp as swords, and their bodies were covered in thick scales. These 10 golden-armored beasts roared and emitted a monstrous aura. Grand Dragoner, these are my strange beasts. I can control 10 golden-armored beasts at the same time. My skills are not bad, right? A proud expression appeared on Shi's face. To be able to control 10 golden-armored beasts at the same time, Shi's beast-taming technique was already the best among the Golden Roar Division's Dragoners. Unsightly, Liu sneered disdainfully. I will show you what a Grand Dragoner's beast-taming technique is. Chapter 1262. Oh, is the Grand Dragoner going to demonstrate how to control strange beasts? Shi's eyes shone with ridicule. Then we'll wait and see. I wonder what kind of strange beast the Grand Dragoner will be controlling. I'm very curious. You don't have the right to see my strange beasts. Liu shook his head in disdain and pointed at the 10 golden-armored beasts. These are your strange beasts? Since you want to ask for guidance, I'll give you some pointers. You don't have complete control over these golden-armored beasts. Don't have complete control? Haha, Grand Dragoner, are you joking? Seeing that Liu didn't release any strange beasts, Shi was even more certain that old Demon Goldclock wasn't a Dragoner. What did he mean by, don't have the right to see my strange beasts? He clearly didn't have any strange beasts. As for Liu's claim that he didn't have complete control, Shi was even more skeptical. Every golden-armored beast soul was branded with a Dragoner's mark. These 10 golden-armored beasts were like Shi's arms. With a thought, he could control them at will. I never joke. If I say you don't have complete control, then you naturally don't have complete control. Liu had a matter-of-fact expression, as if, I'm the expert, I'm the authority, and what I say is the truth. Then please enlighten me, Grand Dragoner, and broaden my horizons. See where I don't have complete control? Shi didn't believe that Liu had any skill in the Dragoner secret arts. Moreover, the chief was already confident in suppressing old Demon Goldclock. What was there to be afraid of? Since he had already chosen a side, he might as well choose a side even more thoroughly. As you wish. Liu pursed his lips and waved his hand. Golden-armored beast, kill him. This is my golden-armored beast. Even if you're a Grand Dragoner, you could forget about controlling my golden-armored beasts. Roar. Shi hadn't finished speaking when the 10 golden-armored beasts suddenly roared and pounced at him. How is this possible? The golden-armored beasts rebelled? They actually rebelled? How is this possible? Shi's face was full of shock. He found this completely unexpected and incomprehensible situation inconceivable. Roar! The 10 golden-armored beasts roared and pounced towards Shi. They attacked and tore at him crazily, as if they were mortal enemies. Ah! Shi screamed and struggled with all his might, constantly using his secret Dragoner skills in an attempt to regain control of the golden-armored beasts. However, these 10 golden-armored beasts completely ignored Shi and continued to crazily chase after him. You can actually take away the control of other Dragoners? How is this possible? Is this the Grand Dragoner's beast-taming technique? To be able to take away a Dragoner's control over a beast? Isn't this too terrifying? When they saw this, the Dragoners below the stage were all filled with shock and astonishment. This level of beast-taming technique was simply unheard of. Which Dragoner would dare to release a beast in front of old Demon Golden Bell? If a Dragoner couldn't summon a mutated beast, how could he fight? Being chased by the 10 golden-armored beasts with nowhere to run and bitten, the Silver Wonder Dragoner was covered in wounds and blood. He had already used his own blood to prove the terror of old Demon Golden Bell. A summoner met with a betrayal by his pet. This is how miserable it is. Liu looked at the silver wonder dragoner besieged by the golden armored beasts and sneered in his heart. You dare to compete with I in controlling techniques? I have played with the mark of loyalty for who knows how many years. Ah, help, help, Lord Clan Leader, help. The silver wonder dragoner, who had been forced into a corner, could only call for help from his backer, the Lord Clan Leader. I want you to call out Lord Clan Leader. Otherwise, how can I put the blame on him? Why do you think I kept you alive for so long? Snapping his fingers, Liu coldly spat out a few words. Kill him. Roar. The 10 golden armored beasts besieging the silver wonder dragoner suddenly let out a wild roar. A blood-colored radiance soared into the sky, and the 10 golden armored beast bodies suddenly expanded to twice their original size. Berserk. Golden armored beast berserk. This is an innate ability that only appears after the golden armored beasts advance. How is this possible? Seeing the golden armored beast bodies glowing with a blood-colored radiance and their bodies expanding, the group of dragoners almost simultaneously cried out in alarm. While the others were crying out in alarm, the silver wonder dragoner was screaming miserably. Boundless berserk, savage and ruthless, the 10 golden armored beasts that had gone berserk were more ferocious than before. Under the joint attack, the silver wonder dragoner was instantly torn to shreds. Have mercy! Streaks of light whizzed over, and a loud cry of have mercy rang out. However, before he could finish his sentence, there was already nothing left for him to show mercy. The silver wonder dragoner had already been reduced to pieces. Golden Bell Grand Dragoner, why are you so vicious? The streaks of light landed. Golden Roar Tribe's forefather, Eternal Gold, led a group of Golden Roar Tribe leaders to the square in front of the Dragoner Court. To Liu's surprise, there was a 17 or 18-year-old girl beside forefather, Eternal Gold. This girl's attire was clearly not the style of the Golden Roar Tribe. It was not even the style of the Western Desert. This girl, could she be Patriarch Eternal Gold's trump card? A little chi condensation cultivator? Liu sneered inwardly. I like to see what kind of tricks you have up your sleeve. Golden Bell Grand Dragoner, didn't you hear my question? I asked you, why are you so vicious? Our Golden Roar Tribe kindly took you in, and you repay our kindness with enmity? Nobody knew what gave old ancestor Eternal Gold the confidence to act like a patriarch, as he pointed at Liu and shouted loudly. What a joke! Liu flung his sleeves and stared at forefather Eternal Gold with cold arrogance. Are you blind? What did I make a move? If I really made a move, would there still be anyone left alive in your Golden Roar Tribe? Hearing this, forefather Eternal Gold's body froze. Cold sweat faintly appeared on his forehead. Yes, old Demon Golden Bell was ferocious and terrifying. Even venerable Blood Axe and thousands of Blood Axe warriors could not withstand a single move from him. If not for his trump card, forefather Eternal Gold would not have dared to provoke such a powerful enemy. However, I have your Achilles heel. No matter how powerful you are, you can only bow your head and submit. Turning his head to look at the girl beside him, forefather Eternal Gold's face revealed a cold smile. Old Demon Golden Bell, I helped you find your long-lost tribesman. Reaching out his hand to pull the girl over, forefather Eternal Gold's face was full of evil grins. The Golden Bell tribe that was destroyed many years ago. If it weren't for you, old Demon Golden Bell, I wouldn't have remembered that the group of vassal refugees that our Golden Roar tribe took in years ago had such a great background. Forefather Eternal Gold pointed at the girl beside him and looked at Liu mockingly. Do you see? This is the current patriarch of the Golden Bell tribe. As long as she says a word, she can expel you from the tribe and make you lose your Golden Bell totem. Without the Golden Bell totem, what ability do you have? Unexpectedly, there really is a Golden Bell tribe? Liu was dumbfounded. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.